Director Jesse, are we good for streaming?
Yes, the streaming is now live. Go ahead, Sam.
20 seconds. Good morning. I'm Trayon White Sr., Ward 8 Council Member and Chair of the Committee on Recreation, Library, and Youth Affairs. Today is Monday, April the 8th, 2024. We are meeting remotely using the Zoom platform. The time is now 12:05 p.m., and I'm calling to order this budget oversight hearing on Department of Parks and Recreation. The mission of Department of Parks and Recreation, also known as DPR, is to provide equitable access to gold standard recreation programs, services, and facilities across all 8 wards. DPR looks to promote health and wellness, conserve the natural environment, and provide universal access to parks and recreation services. The DPR vision is to be America's gold standard for parks and recreation agencies, and to be the place in the District of Columbia where the fun happens. This year, FY25 budget for DPR is $78.8 million, which is a 4.4% decrease from FY24. In addition, this capital budget contains $129 million to modernize and construct recreation communities and community centers, including $11.9 million for Douglas, $7 million for the renovation of Anacostia Pool in Ward 8, $7.5 million for Cormel, and a few other projects in this budget. I also want to note there's $60 million for a new indoor sports complex and campus for the RFK Stadium. It is my hope that the FY 2025 budget will help DPR to grow and expand and provide even more services in the District of Columbia. As Director Thaney Freeman is in her first official year as the director of DPR with this fiscal year budget, we look forward to her testimony about the work of the agency that has done and will do under her leadership and for vision. I do want to note that other members may join, and I will welcome them as they join. As I call the first panel of witnesses, they will be promoted from the audience to be a panelist. We have a tight schedule request and request that all witnesses adhere to the allocated time. All public witnesses will speak on their behalf, who will speak on their own behalf will have 3 minutes to testify. Public witnesses who are elected officials and or represent the agency will get 5 minutes. With that being said, we will start our hearing with our public witnesses. Our first witness is Commissioner Edward Borrego, 5B01. We have Tisha Cockrell, President of Friends of Riggins LaSalle Recreation Center. Curry Savage, Senior Director of Policy and Advocacy for Parents. Not sure if that's right. It's worded funny. Oh, PAVE, there it is. Parents Amplifying Voices in Education. Crystal Fleming, Director of KIND. Lionel Foster, Friends of Noise Park. So we're going to start with Commissioner Borrego.
All right. Chairperson White and members of this committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Edward Borrego, and I am the commissioner from Single Member District 5B01, which is on the northeastern edge of DC and is bordered by South Dakota Avenue, Quincy Street, Eastern Avenue, and a few blocks north of Michigan Avenue. I am also authorized to represent Advisory Neighborhood Commission 5B, endorsing the Department of Parks and Recreation's proposed renovations and enhancements to DPR facilities within Commission 5B, especially Bunker Hill Park, per our resolution supporting budget priorities for DPR parks in Commission 5B, unanimously adopted in March. Commission 5B encompasses numerous parks and recreation centers, including Bunker Hill Park in my single-member district, Dwight A. Mosley Park, Brentwood Triangle Park, Noyes Park, and Turkey Thicket Recreation Center. All of these locations were identified for new improvements or renovations by DPR in the final version of their Ready to Play 20-year master plan, But the plan also indicates all of the recommendations are currently unfunded, except for a field renovation at Dwight A. Mosley and safety improvements at Brentwood Triangle Park. Additionally, in the mayor's proposed FY25 budget to the council, no DPR facilities within Commission 5B are proposed for any capital funded improvements. This is important because, like other parts of DC, the neighborhoods within Commission 5B have gaps in DPR amenities and services, including for playgrounds. I personally believe providing a designated outdoor space for children to play, such as a playground, is one of the most fundamental civic services local governments provide. This is reflected in DPR's own portfolio of 243 park sites, of which 104 have playgrounds. After recreation fields, it is the most widely offered amenity. However, also according to DPR, when comparing DC's playgrounds per residence level of service, it is the only standard DC falls below the national standard. This means more playgrounds are needed in DC, and is why DPR proposes 9 brand new locations for playgrounds in their 20-year master plan. Additionally, it is fantastic 4 are indicated as already funded. The remaining 5, 1 in wards 3, 4, and 8, and 2 in ward 5 are not. To keep up with population growth in DC and address service gaps, building more playgrounds must be accelerated. Bunker Hill Park in Commission 5B and my single-member district is one of the proposed sites for a new playground in Ward 5. Bunker Hill Park, not to be confused with Fort Bunker Hill Park, is bounded by 18th Street, Bunker Hill Road, and Michigan Avenue Northeast, and is adjacent to the HSC Pediatric Center Children's Specialty Hospital. At 1.36 acres, it is classified DPR as a neighborhood park, and the last and only capital investment made at this location was in 2010. Nearly 15 years ago, approximately $204,000 was utilized to install plaza, benches, and landscaping. While the plaza is great, the park itself offers fewer amenities than DPR's standard for neighborhood parks, which is 327. It also does not offer more than an open field for children. Less than 50% of households in my single-member district live within a 10-minute walk shed of a playground, which is DPR's own service standard. While this may sound merely like an inconvenience, it is exacerbated by the need to cross heavily used, unsafe streets like South Dakota and Michigan Avenues. There is not a single publicly accessible playground in my neighborhood which does not require crossing a street designated as an arterial. It is not surprising then, based on DPR's own engagement and survey work to develop Ready to Play, nearby residents expressed high demand for a new playground. This all changes if a playground is built at Bunker Hill Park. With a playground there, the number of households in my single-member district within a 10-minute walk shed goes up to 92%. It makes progress closing a service gap and increasing the playground level of service for DC. It provides a stronger focal point for the neighborhood to bring people of all ages together. It also provides a space for family members to play while visiting loved ones across the street at the Children's Specialty Hospital. Councilmember Parker, in his FY25 budget letter to the mayor, recommends addressing funding needs at Ward 5 DPR facilities, such as Bunker Hill Park, in addition to others in Ward 5. Commission 5B, per resolution, especially urges prioritization of funding improvements at Bunker Hill Park, as mentioned in DPR's strategic 20-year plan, while also supportive of our other parks. I am here hoping this committee can find a way to do this. Thank you. I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you. Now we have Ms. Cockrell.
Good afternoon, and hello, Chair, Councilmember Trayon White Sr., as well as other council members, DPR staff, and witnesses present. My name is Tisha Cockrell, and I'm the president of the Friends of Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center. We are partnered with DC Department of Parks and Recreation. We have worked together with the site director and the staff at our community Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center. We are here today per our previous testimonies via the Recreation Libraries and Youth Affairs Performance and Budget hearings to continue our plea to receive funds and assistance with site maintenance, repairs, and new item requests. Some of our requests have been rectified, and for that, we're thankful. However, many items remain pending and or incomplete. I submitted written testimony, in regarding this list of our recreation center requests raised by our community that we mentioned in our testimony, February 21st, 2023, and February 22nd, 2024 for performance hearings as well. So I'll go through just a few of these. I'm not going to go through all of them, but our most important outdoor recreation center issues are we're looking for a newly environmental friendly turf field that replaces the current field, which is deemed unsafe, that includes a walking track. I mentioned before that we witnessed many improvements listed in DPR's fiscal year 24 and 25 ready to play plan. However, much seemed to have not been yet budgeted. We would like more clarity on this. Also, there's an issue with outdoor safety for the outdoor restrooms. And I'd like to know, did we replace the doors that don't lock or have for the bathrooms, or have they been locked and now are out of use for the public? Also our outdoor splash park. It's been a work in progress with a series of ongoing issues such as water pressure and being in and out of service. Will it be serviced or replaced? I'd like questions of clarity on that. Sunshade for our new playground. The fiscal year 2024-29 capital improvement plan provided $25,000 to DPR to install a shade structure. I'd like clarity on when that will take place. Let's see, indoor recreation center issues. We'd like to replace or repair exterior indoor entrance doors on the Nicholson Street northeast side. The front door push bar is broken. That door is not ADA compliant. People who use wheelchair or wheelchair accessible have struggled to get in, and all of those doors seem to have issues with locks. I think I've submitted pictures to your committee, Councilmember White, and I'd like some clarity on that. Where the biggest issue is the replace or repair of the gym roof. It's been leaking since 2008. That needs immediate attention. We've been back and forth about the reallocated $1 million that was allocated from the mayor's budget in last fiscal year, and it somehow got sent to another recreation center or used for another recreation center. We'd like to know when that money will be allocated to our recreation center as previously mentioned, and when we will get that work done. HVAC system, has that system been replaced, repaired? We were looking at a new system. We have not heard anything about that. Repainting building interior. They were requesting a mural, new ping pong and pool tables. The pool table that they're using now is literally ripped and they're playing over it. I have many other issues, but I just wanted to discuss those. And while we are primarily thankful for some of the assistance given to help us rectify and maintain our community center, we want to keep momentum going regarding our detailed list provided here. Our facility is also currently short-staffed with only 3 employees. We need more funding and attention paid to our center to enhance further projects, address needed repairs, maintenance staff, and security and upgrades. I'll stop there. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I'm looking forward to any questions.
Thank you. Ms. Savage, Pave.
Hi, good afternoon, Chairperson White, members of the committee, and staff. My name is Carrie Savage. I'm a Ward 1 resident and the Senior Director of Policy and Advocacy at PAVE, or Parents Amplifying Voices in Education. Today, I'm testifying on the DPR budget, and we really appreciate DPR's continued engagement with PAVE parent leaders over the years and the actions they've taken to improve in response to parents' advocacy, like creating the lottery program and adding program seats last year. We are looking forward to upcoming meetings with DPR leadership to continue that partnership. We are also grateful for the continued investment. Today, I will highlight areas where PAVE parent leaders want to see prioritized in the upcoming budget. So first and foremost, we think DPR should play an integral role in safe passage for students. Safe passage is one of our new parent priorities this year, given the uptick in violence, especially violence that involves young people. In our conversations with students, they have told us directly that DPR facilities can play an integral role in helping enhance student safety through expanded hours, helping students build relationships with trusted adults, and offering engaging activities. It is also important that the transportation options we typically think of for to and from school incorporate after-school programs like those offered at DPR. We've heard transportation is one of the biggest barriers for families, especially when students are leaving in the dark. So we should explore options like DC School Connect to take students both directly to and from school and the program, but also for key metro stops to get students home safely. Further, DPR staff are critical connection points between students, families, and communities. We encourage DPR to join hyperlocal efforts to coordinate around safe passage, to share information about what they are seeing and hearing, and support proactive and responsive steps to increase safety. As a start, we're asking for DPR to be included in monthly calls hosted by OSA for all entities working on safe passage to include collaboration and coordination around safe passage in neighborhoods or neighborhood clusters. Again, something that is budget neutral. Second, DPR should prioritize improving facilities in communities with the greatest need. We've heard consistently about the poor state of DPR facilities, especially in Ward 7 and 8. Facilities have old equipment that doesn't work well, whether it's playgrounds, gym equipment, etc. Some constantly have overflowing trash. Some don't have proper heating, cooling, or ventilation. Students east of the river have shared with us, and you, council member, when you joined us at Thurgood Marshall Academy for a Safe Passage Summit, that they don't always want to go to recreation centers because of these types of issues, but we know that's not the experience of students all over the city. The budget should prioritize making sure that the facilities and program offerings east of the river compare to those of west of the river. Lastly, we want to see the following prioritized overall in DPR's budget. We should continue to prioritize seat expansion for programs. There are still long wait lists, and many of our students struggle to get seats, and many of our parents still struggle to get seats for their kids in programs that they have been attending for years. We need to find a way to expand seats so all families can access the programs they are most interested in. We also need to focus on high quality programs. Currently the quality varies greatly, and we want every family who signs up for a DPR program to have a great experience. DPR should audit program offerings by ward and grade level and ensure there is a fair access to quality programs that provide young people joy, support, and opportunities to learn and engage with each other. And finally, we should continue to invest in improving the DPR lottery. The old system of first come, first served programming was deeply inequitable. We are happy to see that DPR responded by creating its lottery system. And while we know there are kinks to work out, we want to see this lottery used for a broad spectrum of DPR programming. In conclusion, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to testify today. This work is only possible with leaders on the council and DPR who also believe in the power and promise of community voice. I welcome any questions.
Thank you. I'll come back. Crystal Fleming, Kind. I don't see Miss Fleming yet, so we will go to you, Mr. Foster, Friends of Noyes Park.
Thank you, Chair White, members of the committee. I appreciate you having me here today. Lionel Foster, I'm a district resident and board member of Friends of Noyes Park. We're an all-volunteer nonprofit organization working in conjunction with the DC Department of Parks and Recreation and Department of General Services to care for Noyes Park in Brookland, Northeast DC. Friends of Noyes Park is one of many such groups working in conjunction with district agencies to enhance park resources across the city. As part of my testimony, I submitted pictures of broken park equipment and infrastructure, in this case, a grill, the rotting frames of community garden plots, and playground surface material. After 5 years, the playground surface was repaired. The other items have not been. I offer these as examples of equipment now in disuse or disrepair in parks across the city. The point I would like to stress today is that currently, whenever the district builds park facilities, it has no system in place for ensuring park assets are maintained properly and replaced at the end of their useful life. As a matter of practice, if the council approved funding for a new park today, and one day after the park opens something broke, there would be no guarantee that an item would be fixed or replaced. This piece of the new park could be gone forever. And this way, new parks can quickly become old parks. The mayor's fiscal year 2025 budget presentation includes a state of good repair blitz, described as $11.8 million for targeted improvements in playgrounds, fields, courts, and other areas. This blitz of scattered selective repairs is proposed precisely because there is no comprehensive system in place. We need something less exciting than a blitz. We need basic, boring, guaranteed good policy and funding. Good practice would be to maintain an inventory of equipment and infrastructure, when it was installed, how long is it rated to last, and the replacement cost, and then set aside funds to ensure that equipment reaches its full useful life. Repairs are sometimes made, but they are done in a haphazard manner. If something breaks and someone takes the initiative to submit a 311 request and follow up on that request, the issue still might never be resolved. If DPR or DGS have a matching item in storage or can earmark money for the replacement, with consistent prodding from a group like Friends of Noyes Park, a repair might be made. Otherwise, that sliding board or part of a community garden may be lost to the community forever. Resources meant to last decades might survive only a few years and in a state that could pose a safety hazard. The lack of a system puts burdens on residents to advocate and fundraise and even make repairs themselves. Not every neighborhood has a Friends of the Park organization or neighbors who have the time to write testimony, meet with agency staff members, write to council members, and take time during a workday to testify. So what might some of our parks look like in the less affluent areas of some of our respective wards? The situation in our parks reminds me in some ways of the history of public housing in America. Some buildings went up with great hope and fanfare, but over time we lost the will to care for them. Maintenance and upgrades slipped with devastating consequences. The advice many of us are given personally is that we should absolutely buy a house, but not before we're sure we have the resources to maintain it. Once you buy a house, the maintenance falls on you. With respect to its parks, the district is pushing some of its responsibilities off on others. So we ask that you introduce and pass legislation instituting a system whereby DPR and DGS estimate how long park infrastructure and equipment should last, track the condition of each item, and have funding available to fix or replace items on a schedule that ensures they will reach their full useful life. In the interim, we also request $60,000 be allocated for backlogged repairs at Noyes Park. Recreation and green space help keep people sane and foster community. They give families, friends, and neighbors spaces where they can bond. They make places livable. We all need and deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if Ms. Fleming joined us yet, so I'll just start with my questions. Quick. I want to start with you, Commissioner Borrego. Thank you. You talked about the outdoor playground space. And you listed a number of DPR facilities from Bunker Hill to Brentwood, Mosley, DuPont. What is going on there now at Bunker Hill Park? Type of plaza, but I didn't understand what you were saying with the plaza.
Oh, sure. So Bunker Hill Park today is a neighborhood park. It currently has a plaza with benches, landscaping. That is what DPR installed back in 2010. The rest of the park is all open with an unmaintained field and trees. So DPR does come by and mow it, but it's not officially a turfed field for use. And that's it. It's a triangle park, but it has significant size for a triangle park and could easily support more amenities.
I did hear you say that they were in the pipeline for two of the playgrounds. It was supposed to be two locations in Ward 5, but not funded. Where were these particular places that the mayor proposed in Ward 5?
Sure. So one of them is Bunker Hill Park. It is in DPR's strategic plan. The other one is Brentwood Hamilton Park, which is close to Union Market.
And do you happen to know what it potentially was going to be funded for in number? We can find it, but
I do not. I would expect it seems like playgrounds right now go between 2.5 and maybe as high as $3 million. So I would expect that it would take something requisite to that.
Okay, and can you send me, I don't have a written copy of your testimony. Did you send that?
I just sent it once I concluded speaking.
Okay, I'll check it. Because I wanted to make sure we have that for the other members as well. So we go back through this. Thank you. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Ms. Savage.
Hi, Councilmember, I'm here.
Doing, sorry, trying to scramble through my many notes I have here. I think you spoke in reference to safe passage. How do you envision DPR playing a role in safe passage?
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that students have told us is DPR rec centers, are oftentimes places that students do feel safe. And so I think making sure that the adults at the DPR centers are also involved in localized conversations about safety is a really critical way for other people who are aware of what's going on. If there's incidents kicking up, if they feel like there's something going on in the community that maybe their kids are sharing with DPR employees, then they need to be involved in those localized conversations with school leaders or other safety entities, whether it's WMATA PD. One of the things that we've been talking about with our coalition partners is for the Office of the Student Advocate to host monthly calls with all of those folks in localized neighborhood clusters. And so I think if there's staff from DPR who wants to join that to be able to share that perspective, that's one piece. I also think, like, we talk a lot about safe transportation options for kids to get to and from school, but DPR programs they can be really helpful in offering students, whether it's enrichment, financial literacy, sports, able to explore outside other passions. We don't want transportation to be a barrier to that. So as we think about additional safety measures for students getting to and from school, whether it's youth only WMATA buses and metro cars, DC School Connect, et cetera, I think it's worth including DPR in those conversations about what safe transportation options could look like.
Got it. I don't know how that apparatus will be set up based on the need and the number of available transportation for DPR, but I think it's something to dive into. I know you spoke about the high quality programming. How do you define high quality programming? And are there some examples that you do see that are high quality versus those that are not high quality? If you can elaborate on that.
Sure. I mean, I think, in terms of quality programs, a lot has to do with the staff personnel who are delivering those programs, making sure that they are trained in the subject area. They're great at engaging with kids. They can help support social emotional learning regardless of the subject area. I think it's making sure there's content and activities that students are genuinely interested in. And so one of the things that, as I was preparing for our testimony, and I had mentioned like DPR doing an audit to see which parts of the city or which grade student age levels have access to robust programming. And if you look at JLF and Ward 2, there's tons of programming for high school students, whether it's around career coaching, financial literacy, mentorship. There's tons of different options. But if you look at in Ward 7 at what is offered at, say, Deanwood, just as one example, the level of robustness of options is totally different. There's way fewer programs that are offered there. And so I just want to make sure that if students live on the east side of the river, they have the same option to that type of variety of programming as someone who lives west of the park.
Got it. Duly noted. I'm going to jump back to Ms. Cockrell real quick.
Yes,
I think you spoke about the turf field.
yes,
And a walking track.
yes. The seniors in the community have long expressed, liking or requesting a track they can walk around for exercise. The closest track to us is Turkey Thicket, and we're on Riggs and Nicholson, and Turkey Thicket is all the way over Michigan Avenue. And for seniors that don't have a regular mode of transportation, that's kind of difficult to get over and walk around that track. So something in the community where the seniors can exercise and walk around.
Okay. And I do believe that there was money allocated for Riggs LaSalle, and I think you explained that money was moved at 1 million. And I'm gonna ask my staff to find that information for us. I know we asked them that question already, and I'll get it by the time the director gets here, because that's one of the things that was expressed before about prioritizing areas that was already in the budget but moved around, and I can't remember off the top of my head what that answer was, but we'll find out where that went, and also about the shade structure for the park. And some of these things are also DGS issues.
Yes,
Yes.
I've had a testimony with them as well. I'm still waiting on their answer too.
Okay, so we may also send some of these questions or comments to DGS. So we'll find about the issue of the doors with the locks and gym roof leak entries. We'll find that.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry, you're on mute. Oh.
Yes, I had to communicate something to my staff that I
Okay.
need to get so we can be prepared with some in-depth questions that may not have been answered through DPR already that you guys are raising. So I had to mute for 1 second.
Okay,
Thank
you so much.
Is this gym roof still leaking currently?
It's still looking currently. We haven't had a big rain. The pictures that I shared with your staff were some of the most recent damage from recent rain and snow.
Okay, got it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Foster, been going through some of these pictures that you sent here, in regards to playground and the garden. In your letter.
So the community garden in particular is very popular. We have, over the course of a few years, dozens of people will use it, and those plots are literally crumbling, falling apart. You just reach a certain age and they need replacing.
All right, let me ask you this. Let's see. I'm looking at this here, and I'm not sure what should I be looking at on this particular diaphragm here. I see the ground look like it's coming up. I had a couple of questions.
Right. So that's the playground, and that's an example. That's the play surface. So Noyes Elementary is across the street, and you see that rough area is where the artificial surface that kids are running, slipping, rolling on was coming up because it was installed incorrectly. So that actually we were fortunate, and after literally 5 years, that was pulled up and replaced. It looked like the replacement was made properly. But we offer that as an example. That damage started 5 years prior, and then it took 5 years to get addressed, and that was too long.
Yeah, and I hear you speak about that, and I see the benches on there also tore up with some of the wood just still laying all over the place, which is a safety hazard for us. And so we make sure that's addressed today, getting that cleaned up and taking away that safety hazard. You also spoke about having a good system in place that repairs can be made, and I know that we are working not only with DPR and DGS to figure out what that look like and the turnaround time and how to match budget early on in preparation for that. So I know the mayor allocated this 11.8 million, in which we'll dig down into to see have they already picked out where this will be allocated. But it's my hope that, again, that there's a system in place to address that. And I know the mayor proposed some blitzes, and I don't know if this Noise Park is on the blitz, but we will communicate with them because we do a lot of those. We will be doing a lot of those walkthroughs with them at these blitzes. So we'll work to coordinate some of the priorities from not only this hearing, but other hearings that we have a long list of the repairs and issues.
Right. And I think you understand the greater point we're making it's okay to be included in a blitz, but it's even better if there's a comprehensive system in place that predicts, you know what, 2 years from now, we know we're going to have to you replace those benches, and that's the funding to get that done.
Got it. Thank you. I'm
Thank
over my
you.
time for this particular panel. I want to thank you guys for testifying, and some of these will be emailed out, or some will also be asked in person today during this particular budget hearing. So I want to thank you for your advocacy, but not just you, but for those residents and community members that you live in and around in your communities. Thank you. Next, we're going to have RLYA Daniclo, DC Action, Dana Keeney, Park Road Triangle Park Committee, Emeka Monimi, Capital Riverfront bid, Commissioner Friend, ANC 7D06. Yeah, I see 4 are here, so we're going to start there. We're going to start with you, Miss Riley.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman White and staff of the committee, and thanks for the opportunity to address you today. I'm Riley Dinalco, a senior policy analyst focusing on out-of-school time at DC Action. And DC Action is also home to the DC Out of School Time Coalition, which advocates for equitable access to OST programs for youth and families in the district. In FY25, the committee must ensure that funding for out-of-school time programs, summer camps, and grants for community-based organizations to provide recreational programming is preserved in the DPR budget, and where possible, increased. This includes continuing to budget at least $4.2 million for OST programs, $428,000 for teen programs, and $6.4 million for summer camps, which were the funding levels in FY24. These programs are a critical piece of the district's overall funding infrastructure that provides youth and families accessible, meaningful, and safe opportunities after school and in the summer. As we know, how youth spend time outside of school can dramatically impact their social and emotional well-being, academic outcomes, college and career readiness, and community safety. But in the district, access to OST programs is inadequate and inequitable. This was made evident in the 2023 Needs Assessment Report from the DC Policy Center, funded by the DME, which showed that subsidized OST programs in DC are currently only serving around 40% of our young people. In wards 7 and 8, where the service gap is most acute, only 33% of youth who live in these wards participate in after-school programs and only 35% in summer programs. Clearly, the district has a long way to go to achieve universal access to OST. Protecting DPR funding is one way to make sure these gaps don't grow, while CBOs, government leaders, policymakers, and families work together toward a future where OST access is available for all. The Recreation for All community grants that were first launched in FY23 provided more than $4 million of support to community-based programs, activities, and events that engaged youth. The grant program was continued in FY24 to provide funding to organizations to expand recreational offerings and provide residents in underserved communities with safe, high-quality programs. The mayor's proposed budget for DPR includes a $1.5 million reduction in the government subsidies and grants line, which suggests that perhaps the Recreation for All grants may be decreased from the FY24 levels. If so, the committee must restore these cuts so that youth who benefited from OST activities funded by these grants in the previous fiscal year can continue to do so. Lastly, as you know, district families also rely heavily on DPR summer camps to keep youth engaged and safe during the summer months. The latest performance oversight responses from DPR shared some promising improvements, especially between summer 22 and summer 2023, where the number of families and individual children served and enrolled in camp increased. And as mentioned before, the new lottery system has also created more access for families who may not have been able to participate before. While more specific data is needed about the demographics and geographic locations of youth and families being served, it's clear that DPR camps must be adequately funded to continue this progress. So as we continue to learn more about the DPR budget today and in the coming weeks, I ask that you keep in mind the important role that these programs play in the growth, development, and safety of the district's young people. And we must continue to fund out-of-school time opportunities through DPR in FY25 and beyond. Thanks for the opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Dana Keeney. Dana Keeney, are you ready to go? Okay, look like.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Dana Keeney, and I represent the Park Road Triangle Park Committee. We're a group of neighbors that work with the Adopt a Park program with DPR to improve and maintain the Park Road Triangle Park. The park is located at the intersection of Mount Pleasant Street and Park Road, Mount Pleasant neighborhood. It serves, it's at the junction of 3 different SMDs with approximately 6,000 residents. The park is, it's an access route from the neighborhood up to the primary business street, up to Mount Pleasant Street, and is also a way that families take their kids over to Bancroft Elementary School. I'm looking out now. A number of neighbors like to use the park to just get out in the sun and get a little fresh air, especially around time. And it's also a bus stop for the kids that catch the bus to go over to high school across the park. So it's used a lot. This park was actually the very first adopted park in the district when they started the program back in the early 90s. We've been maintaining the park to our best of our ability since then. Sharon Pratt did the park in 1993. But while while work was done on the park back in the early 90s, as one of the other people mentioned, there's been no maintenance since then, and so we have some problems that are hazardous and that need to be fixed. We started a couple of years ago, back in 21, reaching out to our neighbors to find out what their thoughts were about what should be done. About 145 Mount Pleasant residents responded. Number one was crosswalks, because you're on Park Road and it gets some pretty good traffic. Some permanent seating. There are no permanent seats in the park right now. Brickwork. It's you can trip over them real easy. That's tough for children or seniors like myself. An electrical outlet box where we can use it for events in the park. A new water spigot because of current leaks. And other aesthetic improvements. We added some temporary seating ourselves, and that's what's out there today. Other neighbors have brought more chairs, and that's people want to be outside. They want to enjoy the park, and that's we're doing the best we can right now. We only learned last that some of the work that had to be done. The crosswalks were done, and that was a great help. Helped the safety of the people in the neighborhood, especially the school kids going over to Bancroft. But the other, unfortunately, so we put together a a budget request and submitted it. And then as a part of that process, we also talked to a lot of different people. We had a walkthrough with Christopher Dye, our new DPR liaison. We had a walkthrough with two members of our ANC, Angela Allison and Erica Nunez. We had another. Then we sent in the budget request in cooperation with Chris for a $400,000 fiscal year 2025 capital budget action, and that's already been submitted. We met with Steve Anderson from DGF, and he told the work that needed to be done was beyond standard. Yeah, we can come in and crash because that brickwork's going to be expensive, so that's why we put in the budget request. We had a walkthrough with Foreman, Mount Pleasant rep from the mayor's office, and another walkthrough with David Menny and Jerry Clark from Councilmember Nadeau's office. Eric Nunes on the ANC, they put together a request supporting our budget request, and it was passed unanimously by the ANC, and we appreciate that. We've submitted a written testimony today, and then I'm giving the verbal testimony. So, what's exciting for us is to see that DPR has funding for small parks like this little triangle park here. Like I said, we adopted this park over 30 years ago and have been doing our best to maintain it. But as one of the other speakers mentioned, there's no program in place to fix things as they get broken. And we're in a place today where we need some help. And as a result, what we're asking is respectfully request that our budget, that money be allocated to the budget request we've already submitted, so we can get this work done. The people here use this park every day, but we're bringing out our own chairs right now because there's no seats. And the brickwork was uneven, and like I say, it can be dangerous for seniors like myself. So
Kenny,
I appreciate the.
You can wrap up. That'd be helpful.
Yes, sir. I'll finish now. Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. Thank you for speaking today. Next, we have Emeka Monimi. And let me know if I'm messing your name up. I correct it. I know you told me a few times.
No, sorry. Good to see you, Chairman White. It's Emeka Monime, and I'm the president of the Capital Riverfront Business Improvement District. And thanks for letting me join you for a few moments to testify on behalf of the mayor's FY 2025 budget and financial plan. I have submitted written testimony for the record. I'm just going to call out a few highlights from that written testimony for our discussion here today, but I'm happy to take additional questions if you have them. Excuse me. I'm specifically here to speak on DPR's budget and talk a little bit about the 14-year partnership that we've had with DPR to maintain, operate, and program 8 acres of district-owned parklands in the Capital Riverfront. Both of these parks, Yards Park and Canal Park, are district-owned. They're public parks with vibrant amenities for park patrons and numerous free programs that attract residents and visitors from throughout the region every year. We host year-round inclusive, free, and open to the public events and activations just 1 block away from the Navy Yard Metro Station and Nats Park. These parks and the events in the Capital Riverfront, they create a common ground. I know you've seen Chairman White for neighborhood residents and people even in adjacent communities to come over and interact regardless of income, what ward, what quadrant of the city they're from, and any other attributes. It's really a melting pot of a space in our city. The mayor's budget prioritizes public safety, education, and downtown. And we believe rightfully so. Achieving excellent outcomes in these priority areas would make the district a more compelling place to live, work, and play, and really provide a platform for its residents to thrive and for its communities to be more resilient. Our history, over our 14 years of operating the park, the funding has been essential to ensure the ongoing operations and future maintenance of the really highly complex features within. Chairman, you've seen our water canal basin and the water features that we host there, All of those things are pretty complex engineering mechanisms, and that's part of the partnership is we take over that responsibility and ensure that it's both clean and it operates effectively. But without this funding, events like the National Cherry Blossom Festival, which was held this past weekend, the Pedalpalooza signature event, our Friday night concert series at Yards Park, the holiday tree lighting festivities at Canal Park, those programs, they wouldn't be able to take place. And then it also means decreased availability of our canal basin, as I mentioned, especially popular during the summer. Residents from all over the city come down to cool themselves and cool their children and enjoy this space. So unfortunately, in this fiscal year, the funding for the maintenance of the park was not included. And so we urged the committee to reinstate that so we can maintain those programs. And happy to answer any more detailed questions about that. And thank you for your support of the park and for allowing me to testify this afternoon. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to you, Mr. Friend. We also want to elevate Miss Sheila Tyson to the panel as well. She's here. We don't see any other people in the waiting room, so he's going to elevate Miss Tyson if she's still here. And while we're waiting, Commissioner Friend, you can go right ahead with your testimony.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Council Member. Dear Chairman White and other members of the committee, my name is Mark Friend. I am the A&Z Commissioner for 7D06, the Rosedale community in Ward 7. Thank you for your time today, and also a special thank you to your staff for being so responsive and flexible. I'm here today to talk about the Rosedale Recreation Center, and more broadly, the whole campus, including the rec center, the library, the pool, the playground, and the football field. This whole facility is constantly at capacity. As a parent of an almost 2-year-old, we love having access to the library, the pool, the gym, the basketball hoops, and so much more. Yet, if you walk through the campus today, you see a playground with broken equipment, surfaces that are cracked, a recreation center that is leaking, a football field with broken benches, a basketball gym with hoops that don't work, broken exercise equipment, a library that can't function as a library due to its size, and so much more. The campus is not set up for success. Currently, based on the Next Libris Facilities Master Plan, DCPL is planning to upgrade the Rosedale Library to a full-scale library. Yet when you walk into this tiny library, you can truly see how it's unable to function due to the open space and the limited size. The Rosedale community is excited for the possibility for a full-scale library to replace the undersized library. I greatly appreciate DCPL for recognizing this need. As you may know, the library shares a building with the recreation center, and we have a truly unique opportunity to fully invest in this community. We are urging the DC Council to fund both the construction of the recreation center and the library at the same time. We are requesting the full funding in the mayor's budget, $24.7 million for the Rosedale library, and furthermore, we are requesting an additional $40 million split over FY25 and FY26 for the demolition and construction of the Rosedale Recreation Center building, playground, and field to occur at the same time as the library. Currently, $6.8 million has already been allocated to redo the outdoor pool in the FY23 and FY24 budgets. Our hope is that by fully redoing the whole campus, it will open up opportunities to both save funding in the long run, better design the full campus, and to finally have a multi-level library and a separate multi-level recreation center that can better serve not just the Rosedale community, but all of DC. This campus doesn't just serve our youth, it serves everyone from our seniors, folks looking for employment, folks looking for just a good workout. And I believe together we have a unique opportunity to lift up the essential community resource here in Ward 7. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sheila Tyson.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Trayon White and the Committee on Recreation, Library, and Youth Affairs. My name is Sheila Tyson. I'm a Ward 5 resident that uses the Neighborhood Rec Center for physical activities that include exercise with our famous instructor, Mr. Walter, and all other activities for seniors, such as the Senior Fest that's coming up soon, including the senior camp at Riverside. DPR is the most important agency in the district for seniors. We want to thank the department and the staff, especially those who work with seniors at the center, such as Mr. Green, Ms. Shirley, Mr. Walter, Miss Marion, Mr. Jones, Rick Gorn, Edgewood Rec Center, Fort Stevens, Fort Stanton, and Lamont, and others whose names didn't pop up in my head when I was writing this testimony. DPR was my first summer job when I was 14 in 1965, down at Shaw, working with Mr. Jenkins, whose wife, by the way, was also my teacher at Paul Junior High. Have you or any other committee members seen Camp Riverside? Camp Riverview? If not, I suggest you take a tour. It's time for an upgrade. The bathrooms need to be rehabilitated totally before doing the cabinets, especially the shower area. We can live with outdoor plumbing, but it's time for an upgrade. We need to spend some money and give these seniors who have given up their best years laboring to be able to enjoy their final years in enjoyable conditions. Camp Riverview has been a special place for meeting our physical needs. The activities that the staff plans, including the meals and the programs, are awesome. We can thank them. We are satisfied with the staff and the compassion they bring into enjoyment to us. The staff that comes there needs the physical rest period. We as seniors need the physical rest period that brings inner peace, meditation, fellowship, whatever it is that we choose to do. Prior to the pandemic, we were going 5 days a week. They cut us down to 1 day, 2.5 days, which is not enough time. We want 5 days, and we're demanding 5 days for camp, not leave on 1 day, you get there half a day, spend the next day a full day, then you leave the next day. That doesn't work for us. We as seniors have paid the price for our stay by being patient. We've been discriminated against in the past. We can't afford these luxury lines and luxury camps, so we depend on DPR. These 5 days are very important to us. Regarding the sign up for classes, when you use DPR activity, I've seen and I've heard 2,000 or 4,000 people ahead of you. We got to find a better way to sign up for enrollment for some of these classes at DPR. This is very ridiculous to have 4,000 people ahead of you and you still can't get in the class that you may want. Regarding the kids program at DPR, we must allow children and young people to utilize the rec centers that will certainly help curb their attention to physical activity as opposed to other distraction. I know at Edgewood there was a problem with inner city youth utilizing the facility because they allowed the facility to be rented out. We're going to pay the price for that later on, which is what we're doing now. We need to allow our inner city youth to utilize these facilities and focus on building whatever it needs these young people need. I don't have any comment on the library except the Chromebook, which isn't useful. You know, I wish they will allow us to install our own programs or compare it with other devices. Otherwise, the Chromebook is not really being useful. And I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to submit my testimony.
Thank you. I'm gonna start with Ms. Riley DeNarco.
Yes, I'm here.
I guess one of the things I'm concerned about and many others have expressed interest in was that you talked about was college career readiness. And I know there are many areas of the government that talk about it through OSSI, through Office of Out of School Time, through DPR. When you spoke about college career readiness, what agency were you relating it to?
So I was just naming some of the types of programming that that out of school time community-based providers deliver to young people. So in the context of this testimony, I was referring to organizations that may have received the Recreation for All grants that were offered by DPR over the past 2 fiscal years.
We are noticing a reduction of $1.5 million. How do you think this will affect the ability for DPR or the government to have a stronger reach with youth and young adults with the programming?
Yeah, I mean, I think any cut to out of school time grant funding is going to have a direct impact on just seats being cut from programs that are offered. I mean, the out of school time office and the DME, that funding was preserved this year, which is a big relief. But to see potential cuts in the DPR grants, we'll definitely see hundreds, if not thousands, of youth potentially lose access to seats because programs are already really working on tight budgets, especially community-based organizations. So restoring those grant funds is key to really making sure those opportunities don't go away.
Thank you. And I do know you said we need more data collected. What type of data are you referring to that DPR need to collect? And what would it be used for?
Yeah, so just when I was looking through the performance oversight responses for DPR this past oversight season, I guess I was just hoping to see a little bit more information about, as we're increasing seats, especially in summer camps, making sure that those increases are also being equitable so that youth and families who have been cut off from opportunities the most and need opportunities the most are really seeing more seats being added in their neighborhoods. So especially, youth and families east of the river. So just making sure, I think the data is really important so that we can see as we are making progress toward closing some of the gaps, that it's being done in an equitable way.
Got it. I'm gonna jump to Mr. Keeney. Are you still here, Mr. Keeney? Where's that beeping? All right, there he is.
Yeah, there I am. Sorry.
Yeah, I know you weren't able to get to your full testimony, but I did have a few questions for you as relates to Park Road, Triangular Park. You talk about some of the things that were missing from the park, like no seats,
Right.
crosswalks, unstable bricks, and the absence of electrical outlets and water. And I heard you say you had a series of meetings. What was the response from DGS relates to tackling some of these particular things?
Well, they got the crosswalks put in, and that was a really good thing because that was a real safety issue with people trying to get across Park Road to the park. But none of the other stuff was done. And what they said was because of the expense of the like fixing the bricks or putting in the seats, that was beyond their capability. It would require a budget submission. And so we made that submission recently.
Is that the $400,000 you were referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how did you all come up with that particular number?
Well, there was a renovation on the park up on 14th Street, and that was what it cost them to do the work up there. And so we said, well, if that's what it cost up there, it's probably going to cost about the same. And so it's not real scientific, but it just, trying to put a reasonable number out there.
And what other parks are close to this park, if any?
Well, up on Mount Pleasant Street, you have Lamont Plaza, which is it's a totally bricked in type of a thing. And if you go up to 16th Street, up near Sacred Heart up there, the church, they have a playground and kind of a thing up there. And if you go the other way down Park Road, 3 or 4 blocks, you're in Rock Creek. But right here in this part of Mount Pleasant, we've got a lot of apartment buildings, and where people, this is the closest park for them. And as I said earlier, looking out the window, people they want to use the park, but because there's no seats, people have actually taken seats into the park and used them to be outside.
And for clarity, what were you saying about this being the first park in DC? Can you get some clarity on what you were saying with that?
Yeah, when DPR started the Adopt a Parks program back in the early 90s, this park we were the very first ones to adopt a park in the city.
Okay.
They came in and did quite a bit of work, including putting all the bricks down and everything. But that's been over 30 years, and there's been no maintenance other than us trying to keep it clean. There's been no more investment into the park, and now it needs investment, for safety and just enjoyment reasons.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Monument?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Thank you for the many things you're doing there with the, I guess, maintenance of the property there, the programming and the events you're doing there. I guess I wanted to ask, from the money allocated, is there 2 separate budgets between the programming and the cleaning?
No, it's just one grant, and we basically provide the full suite of services like DPR might do if it were running one of its own facilities. So we do the cleaning, we do the maintenance, we do capital improvement projects, and we do programming.
And I guess I wanted to know, do you work with DPR at all and the National Park Service at all, and in what capacity?
Very closely with DPR. They are very much our partners. It's very much a lockstep relationship. Some of the Fit DC activities will take place in the park. We partner with them and make sure that everything we're doing is consistent as they oversee the grants. So there's reporting that they see every year. National Park Service, nothing directly on either of these 2 parks because they're not Park Service properties, but we are in communication with them about other National Park Service lands in the community and the neighborhood and how we might be able to partner with them on that. That's a very much an active conversation.
I know last year there was a lot of engagement around the funding. Do you perceive any issues this year?
Well, I think we're very, very similar situation. I think it's a program that everybody appreciates. It's very much valued by the neighborhood, valued by visitors to the neighborhood and residents throughout DC that come down to visit the area. And we've been successful over the last several years in working closely with council and the mayor's office to ensure that DPR is funded for this. But as of the budget that the mayor provided released last week, the funding was not included. So we'll need to work closely with your committee and across the entire council to see if we can have it restored.
And how much was that last year?
It was 1.2 million last year.
Got it. I'm gonna jump to Commissioner Friend. I see I'm running out of time here. But you talked about some of the broken equipment there. What type of equipment is broken?
Yeah, we've had a number of issues and a number of tickets. I'm happy to send you staff a much more comprehensive list. But for example, on the playground, any sort of solar, they've installed some of these like solar things that make noise. Those are all broken. The ground is literally coming up like a volcano. Until very recently, the press box at the football field was broken. The benches at the football field is broken. We've had equipment and the like workout area, like treadmills and such, have been broken for a number of years now. The basketball hoop, one of the basketball hoops won't come down. The ceiling is leaking at the library. Until a couple years ago, the AC was broken, so they had to close. But basically, what they did is it's one building that houses right now the rec center and the library, and it's sort of a game of who owns what. So it's DPR, DCPL, and DGS. And so we've had work orders constantly in to fix it, and that's why we have a real opportunity to build it correctly with both facilities. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
All right, I should be an expert at this by now. I see you're requesting 40 million. How does that break down between, I guess it's the recreation and the library?
So that would be just for the recreation and side of the house. The library will has its own funding already in the mayor's budget that we would love your support of. And I believe a number of members of the community are going to come to the next DCPL hearing. So it's about 24.7 million this year for the library. And then the 40 million is an estimate based on other similar projects that the community has come up with, because the facility has a football field, a outdoor pool, the basketball court, the playground, and then this shared space between the library and the rec center.
Yes, I hosted a community meeting there last year. So 40 million sounds like a brand new facility. Is that accurate?
That's our hope, is that what we can do. And because it'd be such a waste to tear down half the building, which would be the library side, and rebuild the library and not do the whole thing at the same time, it would save the city much more money by just redoing the whole campus at the same time. Because right now they're both one story, both the library and the rec center, and a 2-story or even possibly a 3rd story underground creates so much more play space because we are at capacity constantly, as I'm sure you saw when you were there.
Yep. And they have a strong football program that I attended there, and a number of other things they will wish to do from the community. But I guess spacing is limited based on the need from the community.
We are big fans of the Rosedale Tigers here.
Yep. Thank you. I'm gonna go to you, Ms. Tyson.
Yes.
I know you spoke extensively about the need to cater to our senior population who've been here and want to have some great days in their latter years. I wanted to know, what program are you going up to Camp Riverview on?
There's a senior camp. They have a camp for us.
Yep.
We come after the kids in August. And prior to the pandemic, we were going 5 days a week. After the pandemic, we didn't go the first year. They cut it down to we leave. They split it in half. They got seniors who may leave on a Monday, spend Monday night, Tuesday night, and return Wednesday. Then you got another group that comes in. That doesn't work for us. You got a lot of seniors that see this as an important outside activity. One day to bond, you're rushing. And we're seniors. We can't be rushed.
Right.
5 days is what we need. We want to go back to our 5 days. They just got to extend the week. We either break it down where you have 1 week off and y'all go back another week. One and 2 half days doesn't work. I have pictures to show you about the outside showers. They really need to be upgraded. Outdoor and plumbing is fine with me. You have to go outside. I don't know if you ever been to Camp Riverview, but
I have.
They really need to rehabilitate that bathroom, that shower area.
Haven't been out there in a while, but you making me think I need to go down there again.
Yes, we would love for you to. Yes,
Yeah.
especially when the young people are there.
You also felt like seniors were being discriminated against. Can you elaborate on what?
What I meant was, I'm sorry, I didn't read all of that part. You know, seniors today are not, young people today are making money. Excuse me, this thing is getting in I'm by my window. We're not making as much money in the past as people are today. So we can't afford these luxury cruises and these expensive camps. We depend on DPR. That's what I meant. DPR needs to understand the seniors today, the wages were way low than what they are today. So we appreciate the activities the DPR is doing for us, but they got to realize affordability is not as great. And I'm saying that because when you say to me, well, we can only go to camp 1.5 days, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
DPR does a lot for us. Like I said, they're the #1 agency for mobile seniors in DC.
I do hear that often, especially for a lot of our seniors who are on fixed income, trying to stay, thrive and not just survive in the district. I know I spoke to Mayor Bowser and some of my colleagues in reference to creating an opportunity for seniors to make additional income that doesn't interfere with their current income. You know, you can't have a full-time job, but you need something to keep up with the price of living in DC that's going up each and every day from what I see. So that's been proposed in this budget. We are looking at other ways to incentivize seniors and also cover costs for seniors when it comes to programming. That's one of the other things we are continuously hearing as a theme all across the city. So I do want you to know that other people are advocating for the same things, and we're hearing it, and we want to address it. And you know, the budget for DPR has been cut, and so if we fund one thing, we have to take money from somewhere else, and so we haven't quite figured it out just yet. That's why we're going through this process, even today.
Well, what about the enrollment when you try to log into a class? It's got to be a better way to do this. They have 1,000 or 4,000 people ahead of you, and then when you even get to the class, you can't get in. I tell you that a lot.
Example of what type of class? Because I heard you say
you know, when they open up like the water aerobics, for instance, at Turkey Thicken, that's gone by the time you get in. If you're not online at 10 minutes of, you will not get in that class.
Wow.
Oh, you didn't? It's bad. It's bad. And I'm not going to complain too much about my Maryland friends who want to say they're DC residents.
Yeah.
But you know, there are a lot of people who use DC.
So I know that, like a lot of the wrecks that's on the border, DPR has been asking for their IDs at the front desk. Is that not happening?
Yeah, but I'm not going to. What's happening is that when you do this online thing, you got all these people ahead of you. You know, you see the little man walking until you actually get in there. Then by the time you sign up, the class is closed. How do you know if I'm online whether I'm a DC resident or a Maryland resident or Virginia resident? How do you know that? You don't know. You just signing people up.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that there got to be a better tech way, either by cluster neighborhoods or something, to get people enrolled in these classes. It's got to be easier way. Everybody's not tech savvy. I'm in Edgewood, and I know a lot of these residents in Edgewood are not, because I be helping them.
Can I ask you what recreation center do you normally attend?
Edgewood Rec Center, Fort Stanton, cause Fort Stanton has a lot of good programs. I would say Edgewood Rec Center, Fort Stanton. I go to Lamont.
And how do you get there?
If I don't use DPR, then I drive.
And do you go to these different recs based on the programming slots available, or what? How do you decide where you're going to go?
Different things. We talking about two different things. When they're like, I go through DPR senior events. When I see senior event like the Senior Fest, for instance, it's gonna be spread out. I'm gonna go to Turkey Thicken. I'm gonna go to Michigan Rec Center, and then UDC, because they all over the city, right? When I'm signing up for some of these programs, Turkey Thicken is the one. I never get in it. So I never can get in that. But I did sign up for the swimming class. I did get in that, the beginners, which is at Turkey Thicken. And I do go to Edgewood Rec Center for the senior exercise program.
Okay. And then regardless to the pool, I know that we have my staff and I've been working hard to add a new door at the new Baloo Senior High School pool. So seniors can use the pool in the morning and in the evening. In fact, we're going to swim there on Thursday with like a grand opening. So if you're traveling, for those who are listening, are able to travel, I know there are slots that are opening up at that facility as well.
Oh, beautiful. That's good to know. At Baloo.
Yep, before school and after school.
Okay, great.
Brand new pool.
Yeah, we got to expand a lot more programs at DPR for these young people. When we were young back in the day, that's what we did. You went to the rec center.
Yep, got it. I'm over my time. Want to thank those for this panel. We'd like to follow up. I'm gonna get my staff to put their email address in the chat so you can email us directly of if you have not sent your testimony today, so we can make sure we have it. Not only should we have it, the other members of the council on this committee should have it, which we will send it to them for your testimony, and we should be following up with the agency and the executive office of the mayor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. This is all we have for our public witnesses. We are at the portion of this hearing where we will be transitioning to our government witnesses. So if we can elevate all government witnesses to the panel. If you are watching and unable to testify in person today, you can submit your testimony on the council website by clicking the submit testimony button at the right corner of the hearing page. The official record will be closed on Monday, April the 22nd at 6 p.m. We would like to hear from you. I know there are several people who normally testify at DPR's budget hearing that's not here today. So we will be doing some outreach to figure out where we are with our normal advocates for equity and inclusion and recreation here at DPR through this budget oversight hearing. Thank you. I see some have joined from Department of Parks and Recs. Presentation is up. Director Freeman, are you here?
Councilmember, this is
I can't hear it. I can't hear you.
Councilmember, this is Brent. The director is logging in now.
Thank you. I'm assuming there may be more than one computer on in the same room with the hearing. We can work on getting that fixed. I know I have to swear everybody in, but everybody who will be speaking today on behalf of the government, it is the practice of this committee to swear in all government witnesses. So once the director or anyone else who's testifying come in, we'll be sure to swear you guys in. I see we also are joined by Ward 1 Council Member Brianne Nadeau. Welcome. Do you have any opening statements? Okay. All right. Welcome. We also join Councilmember Matt Fruman.
Hi there, Chairman White. I'm going to forego an opening statement, but thank you very much.
Problem. Thank you for joining.
The sound is very soft for me. I don't know if it's on my end or something else.
Mine is turned all the way up, so I'll ask the next person. Let me ask Ms. Rosemary Chewa. Give a thumbs up if the sound is good, or a thumbs down if the sound is bad. Can you hear me?
Yes, I just gave you a thumbs up.
But I didn't see it. Okay. So, Councilmember Fruman, it may be your system.
Chair White, can someone please elevate Director Freeman to join as a panelist, please? Thank you.
Yes. Do you all need some more time?
No, we're here.
All right. Great.
We are here.
Welcome.
Thank
Director,
you.
anyone you will have that is speaking or potentially speaking, we're gonna ask them to come on the screen and cut their mic on and raise their right hand to be sworn in.
You have Brent Cisco and Rosemary Chiwa and myself.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give to the Committee on Recreation, Library, and Youth Affairs is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Director, if you have an opening statement or presentation, you can go right ahead.
Thank you. First, happy Solar Eclipse Day. At many of our rec centers, our young people will receive packages, our campers. They'll get a Capri Sun, they'll get a Sunny D, they'll get all of the things in STEM, a moon pie to make this a memorable moment on this Solar Eclipse Day. So thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson White, members of the Recreation Committee on Libraries and Youth Affairs, and members of the public joining us today. I am Thenie Mack Freeman, Director of the DC Department of Parks and Recreation. I'm here to testify today regarding Mayor Muriel Bowser's fiscal year 2025 Fair Shop budget, strategic investments and shared sacrifice, which she released on April 3rd. DPR delivers high-quality recreation programs and services to all district residents. We operate an expansive inventory of amenities across 80 recreation centers, 35 pools and aquatic centers, 243 parks. We are the district's central provider of public playgrounds, athletic fields, spray parks, tennis courts, pickleball courts, dog parks, community gardens, urban farms, and a whole lot more. DPR's nationally recognized programs and services enhance the health, well-being, and quality of life for every individual that we serve. Mayor Bowser's FY 2025 proposal leads the district through a challenging budget environment while continuing to invest in our residents, our communities, and our city. DPR is just not where fun happens. We're a place that has a profound impact on our communities. Our innovative recreation programs and late night hypes keep our older youth safe and engaged in positive activities and help advance citywide approaches to reducing gun violence. Our out of school time programs and camps support the holistic development and well-being of thousands of children. Our senior programs help our older adults stay physically and mentally active while connecting with their peers. Our environmental programs provide meaningful connections with nature while giving residents regular access to nutritious food for free. DPR appreciates Mayor Bowser's proposed operating budget of $79 million for FY 25. This investment will allow DPR to continue delivering these core services and successfully operate our recreation centers, parks, and pools. Additionally, Mayor Bowser proposes an investment of $529 million for DPR across the 6-year capital improvement plan. These capital investments allow DPR to deliver best-in-class facilities and maintain the #1 ranking park system in the nation, using the Trust for Public Lands Park Score Index. Mayor Bowser's proposed capital investments are guided by recommendations of the Ready to Play, DPR's ambitious, people-centered master plan that charts a bold path forward for planning, design, programming, and operations for the next 20 years. We're so proud of Ready to Play, which shines a light on the importance of equity, sustainability, transparency, and the need to be responsive to our ever-evolving community needs. At this time, I want to share a brief video demonstrating the vital work of DPR that we look forward to continuing next year. Thank you. Now I'd like to talk a bit more in depth about Mayor Bowser's proposed annual operating budget of $79 million for DPR in FY 25. Though this is a 4% decrease from FY 24, we are confident that this proposed budget will allow us to keep its treasured facilities open while continuing to deliver meaningful and innovative recreation program opportunities. In addition, we appreciate the mayor's support in fully staffing our new recreation centers as they come online, including the $147,000 and 2 FTEs for the new Anacostia Recreation Center at Ketchum, opening in FY25. DPR's greatest asset is our people, our world-class wrecking crew, our recreators as we call them. And this budget will support our efforts to professionalize play, investing directly in our workforce through ongoing training, professional development, and mentorship as we enhance the agency's performance and amplify our community and the impact that we have. This month, a team of DPR recreators will attend the Maryland Recreation and Parks Association annual conference for the first time in our history. Through this regional partnership, we are forging with our counterparts in Maryland. We are inspiring others and getting inspired as we stay connected at the forefront of the parks and recreation industry. This is one example of how we are investing in our workforce. Over the past several years, DPR has leveraged the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding, to generate new opportunities for youth in high-risk communities. Mayor Bowser's enhancement of $1.7 million will allow DPR to build on these successes to continue and ensure youth safety and well-being. This investment will enable DPR to continue our successful and proven youth violence prevention initiatives, including extending our pool operating hours, our late night hikes, our mobile recreation programming led by our roving leaders. DPR's roving leaders are a unique asset to the district, deeply embedded in the community. They're at the forefront of change. They have a consistent presence that offers young people peaceful and positive engagement opportunities. In addition, our roving leaders bring recreation to specific neighborhoods when they need it the most, such as during the summer with engaging program. We have movie nights. We bring the climbing walls, the skate mobile, the LED truck, the games. The roving leaders deploy citywide, proving valuable resource to communities affected by violence and those with limited access to recreation services. I want to send a shout out to DPR's world-class wrecking crew who deliver best-in-class programs every day, from youth sports to camps to co-ops to out-of-school time to senior programming, aquatics, cultural arts, environmental programming, fitness, wellness, nutrition, and more. In summary, DPR's operating budget supports Mayor Bowser's citywide goals to maintain and enhance core services while preserving investments that protect health and safety and bring joy to residents. We are so excited to work with our partners in and outside of government to support the vibrancy and growth of downtown. We are thrilled to join Mayor Bowser and our agency partners in welcoming people from across the globe to Washington, D.C. for World Pride in 2025. This historic 50th anniversary gathering is supported by the mayor's investment of $5.25 million. With our expertise in sports and aquatics, we look forward to supporting the execution of the Capitol Cup at World Pride. The Capitol Cup is a week-long celebration of the LGBTQIA+ sports, featuring 20 different sports disciplines and over 5,000 participants. We are honored to host the International Gay and Lesbian Aquatic Championships at DPR's very own Tacoma Aquatic Center. Now I'd like to discuss our capital project, our capital budget. We appreciate Mayor Bowser's generous and sustained support for our DPR capital projects. Since 2015, we have modernized and expanded 73 recreation centers, 68 parks and fields, 49 playgrounds, and 27 pools and splash pads. Mayor Bowser's proposed FY25 through FY30 capital improvement plan includes $529 million, with a total of $284 million in FY25. These investments advance the recommendations in DPR's Ready to Play master plan and invest in our core parks and recreation facilities. At this time, I want to showcase just a few of Mayor Bowser's capital enhancements. Fort Lincoln Recreation Center. We know our Ward 5 community is eager for construction to begin on the new Fort Lincoln Recreation Center, a state-of-the-art recreation center at the site of the former Thurgood Marshall School. The facility will include a gymnasium, elevated track, racquetball courts, dedicated rooms for seniors and teens, a splash park, and more. The space will also include a new 11,000 square foot early childhood education center. Due to rising construction costs, the facility as currently designed requires an additional $8 million. We are thrilled that Mayor Bowser has provided an $8 million enhancement in FY25 to keep the project moving forward without sacrificing recreational amenities or ECE opportunities. This investment brings the total Fort Lincoln budget to $48 million. Mayor Bowser has also invested at $11.8 in FY25 for targeted improvements at playgrounds, fields, courts, and priority fencing repairs at 46 DPR sites, including $6 million for a playground equipment blitz, including Hobart Twins, Langdon, Lovejoy, Westminster, and North Michigan parks. $1.7 million for playground surface blitz to include refreshes at Guy Mason, Raymond, Fort Stevens, Newark, Hamilton, Benton Stoddard, and Mitchell Park. $2.6 million for an athletic field and basketball court blitz to include refreshes at the Marvin Gaye Recreation Center athletic field, Joy Evans Therapeutic Recreation Center basketball court, Eli Place basketball courts, and Fort Stanton football field. $1 million for a tennis courts blitz, including refreshes at Harry Thomas Recreation Center, Kennedy Recreation Center, Eli Place, Fort Davis, and Fort Reno. $500,000 for a fencing and gate blitz to replace and repair fences and gates at DPR's facilities. Erosion remediation. With an additional $5 million in FY25, DPR will have the ability to address urgent erosion conditions at Calorama Park and Lafayette Pointer Park. Boxing gym at Fairby Hope. I want to highlight Mayor Bowser's inclusion of an additional $750,000 for the Fairby Hope Recreation Center this fiscal year FY24. The new Fairby Hope Recreation Center was constructed by KIP DC for a public partnership in 2022. In response to the community's advocacy, Councilmember White, you initially invested $250,000, and Mayor Bowser had an additional investment of $750,000, which will enable DPR to install a boxing annex, working with our partners at the Department of General Services. This additional investment will bring the total budget for the project to $1 million. The complex at RFK, with an additional $500,000 in FY24, DPR can initiate a feasibility study to fully explore what is necessary to bring a premier indoor sports complex to the District of Columbia as part of the larger redevelopment of the RFK campus. This brings the total project budget for the complex at RFK to $60,500,000. I'd like to provide a few snapshots of DPR's overall capital improvement pipeline, which includes 105 projects across all 8 wards. We thank Mayor Bowser for her ongoing commitment and sustaining funding to continue this work. Currently, we have 38 projects in the planning stages, 13 projects in procurement, 38 projects actively in design, 11 projects under construction, and 5 projects in the closeout stage. This includes the following: 13 active projects in Ward 1, 13 active projects in Ward 2, 3 active projects in Ward 3, 9 projects in Ward 5, 12 active projects in Ward 5, 13 active projects in Ward 6, 14 active projects in Ward 7, and 12 active projects in Ward 8. 16 active projects that span multiple wards. If you can turn it to the screen, you will see the projects, 13 active, and that's the Ward 6 snapshot. Ward 7 with 14. Ward 8 snapshot. And 16 active projects that expand multiple wards. We're truly excited about the upcoming completion of the following new DPR facilities in FY24 and FY25. The beautiful Joy Evans Recreation Center located in the beautiful Ward 7. Anacostia Recreation Center at Ketchum in Ward 8, Reservoir Park Recreation Center located in Ward 5, and the Fort DuPont Ice Arena located in the beautiful Ward 7. In addition, I want to share that the newly modernized Kennedy Recreation Center will open next Monday to the public with a week full of activities and engagements. Please see the invitation on the screen, and we truly hope that you can join us. Earlier this year, we opened the new Stead Recreation Center in Ward 2, the first net zero facility in DPR's inventory. In conclusion, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you to testify on Mayor Bowser's budget, FY25 budget proposal. Through the district's investments, DPR remains a part of the essential fabric of our communities, improving residents' health, well-being, and quality of life across all 8 wards. I am joined by DPR's Agency Fiscal Officer, Rosemary Chiwa, and Capital Projects Planning and Design Officer, Jonathan Cisco. We are happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. I'll jump right in. See, we're joined by a number of other council members, Matt Fruman, Councilmember Brianna Doe, Councilmember Janice Lewis George, and Councilmember Christina Henderson. So I'll jump in real quick. So, Director, I noticed that there was a $4.2 million decrease in contractual services. And as you know, some of our programming happens through other organizations coming in and filling in the gaps where we may not provide expertise or service in those areas. How do you think we keep up with great programming in the absence of this $4.2 million?
So there's a 1.5 million and not an actual 4.2 decrease.
So this is in contractual services.
Correct. That is it's not 4.2, it's actually a 1.5 decrease.
Okay. If you could speak to the 1.5, I see 1.5 and 4.2. If you could speak to the impact in services and programming.
Sure, some of it is a reallocation. The mayor did provide an enhancement. As you know, we used ARPA funding to do a lot of our contractual services. And so through the additional 1.7 that the mayor as an enhancement, I think that we will be able to deliver programs. Also, you will see some of the funding is a decrease because JELF will be offline for construction in FY25.
Overall, how do you see this impacting programming?
I don't. I see that we'll be able to forge and provide quality programs to our residents as we have.
There was a decrease of 3.1 million for 37 FTEs. A lot of them were in communications. What's DPR's strategy in having effective communications?
That's a reprogramming. I think those staff were not appropriately aligned, and so they were moved to appropriate category.
Okay, can you speak to that? That's 37. That's a lot of FTEs, I thought, for communications. Do you have an idea off the top where they were reprogrammed to?
So we in recreation services, so we have our positions, as you know, we hire about 700 individuals in the summertime. And so oftentimes you will see positions that are used to we hold them so that we can hire against them. So actually, I think the overview on the budget, we lost approximately 4 FTEs.
Director, we've had a continuing conversation, even prior to you becoming the director, about increasing the salaries of those who are there in the grades. As you know, there's some who've been there a long time and are still at grade 7. And I do want to thank you because we have increased some of the grades for a number of staff. But as you know, the price of living in DC has continuously gone up. We want to work with the executive branch to keep the morale up there. What is your vision for increasing the grades and the pay there with staff there?
So thank you. You and I have spoken extensively about this. I know that both my predecessors, Deputy Mayor and Director Hunter, both acknowledged and noticed that this was an area of concern. We have, excuse me, several FTEs that are grade 5s and grade 7s, and it is a challenge. And so what we're doing as employees move out of those positions, or when the higher grades become open and available, we're starting to build capacity with staff so that they can apply and compete for those positions. And as they come out of those positions, we can sunset some of the lower grades and still be able to get the quality. We know that it's a big lift and a big shift, but we're trying to do it one position at a time.
Thank you. Is any of that reflective in this budget?
No, not holistically, but we will do it strategically as positions become available. We're moving staff out of those lower positions and hiring staff into higher positions, even during the summertime when we do temp promotions, so that staff can have an opportunity to earn at a higher rate.
Thank you. I did note that there was an increase of 327,000 for 2 FTEs to the agency's budgeting and financial management services, with a significant increase in the capital budget. Will these new FTEs be focused on managing that, or will they be doing something different?
So actually, those are individuals who support our AFO. The agency was budgeted for 4 FTEs to support the AFO, and we had been operating with only an AFO and receiving unified support. We realized, especially with the additional monies for Rec for All grant, the agency's portfolio had increased and our budget's size had grew tremendously. We recognized the need to support that area, and so we were able to do so.
Thank you. I'm happy to see the 2 FTEs for customer service. I think that that's needed in all government. You know, I think that we have to do a better job, particularly interacting with the public when it comes to customer service. What was your vision for increasing that in that department?
You know, I was pleased to hear the testimony of all the constituents and the individuals who testified. What I heard, the common theme is we want more of DPR. And so people are showing up, and it is true. 4,000 people join online for a class of 50. It is true that we are that popular. And so offering customer service reps not to overwhelm the sites and to provide as much information up front, to provide a place, a repository where constituents and visitors can receive information so that they don't have any frustration, even providing technical assistance with our permits office, going out into the community, understanding that high senior population or even communities that may not have technology at home, and just providing a way for them to log on and to sign up for our programming. So we recognize we needed more customer service out-facing that was just dedicated to that.
Thank you. And I know that I get a number of calls, you get a number of calls about people who decide to do programming there with DPR. I was excited to see the $141,000 for a person focused on that. What is your vision to increase and interact more with the public as relates to adequate programming? I know we have a meeting coming up with some teenagers about programming, and how you envision this person helping to close those gaps across the city.
So my background is in youth development, and I believe that we have to have a student-centered approach, a youth-centered approach. Youth come to our doors every day, all day. Are we appropriately categorizing, asking them exactly what it is that they need to see? Are we asking them exactly what it is that they need in order to be to support them? Our roving leaders do an excellent job there in the schools. Our roving leaders are participating with Safe Passage. Our rangers are participating with Safe Passage. So it is an agency-wide focus where we're trying to figure out how we can mitigate some of the issues that are facing our youth, how we can create safe spaces to keep youth in our doors longer. As you know, a young person will walk in the door. If they are not comfortable, if they're not engaged, they will walk right back out. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a student-centered approach and that it's top up. We're CAPRA certified. And so getting that reaccreditation meant that we have program outcomes, and we want to capture everyone that comes in the door. And so this position will help align that and streamline some of that.
Thank you. I did want to ask one more before I got this a minute left. There was a large unusual shift in DPR with 217 FTEs increase for recreation center operations, but 240 FTEs decreased for site-based programming. If you can, I was not able to read that and understand that through the budget, what that entails. If you can speak to what this is.
So that was part of the realignment. I know in FY 23, you know, we expanded the hours of operation. And so we moved staff to fully support during the pandemic. I think at this time last year, we still had modified hours. And so when I came in the capacity of deputy director, one of the first things that I was charged with was reopening the centers and getting them fully staffed. And that required us to move staff around, shift staff around, remove staff from programming places to put them in the facilities, because some of our facilities went from 40-hour operations to 83 hours a week operations, 68 hours a week operations. So that was that alignment.
I think I'm over my time. I'll follow back up in the next round. Councilmember Ward 1, Brianna Doe.
Thank you so much, Chairman, and thank you, Director. I have some Ward 1 specific questions for you.
Can you hold on one second? I don't know if there's like an echo or something, a piercing sound in the background.
Must be you guys. I know it's hard when you're all in one room.
We'll hear it, so it must be, yeah.
You do or you do not hear it? I only hear it when you speak, Councilmember Nadeau.
I do not hear it.
I think if there's anybody else in the room with a computer on, they're going to have to lower their volume completely.
Everybody has on earphones. We're good over here. But go ahead, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Okay. So we are finally getting projects completed at Ann Hargrove Park and Unity Park in Adams Morgan. Thank you very much for that. Those funds were budgeted all the way back in 2020, and the improvements themselves were very small scale. What work is DPR doing internally and with DGS to improve the project delivery pipeline so we don't see delays like this again?
So what we've started doing recently with DGS, we have monthly meetings. Director Hunter and myself, we meet monthly with the team, but we're also conversing daily since Director Hunter has assumed the role at DGS, understanding his pain points and trying to figure out how we can move from planning to procurement to design with the project. So I think we should see some additional movement. And I will also say with those particular projects in the years, there was some of that stuff got caught up in COVID. And so I think we are at a pace now where we can all be satisfied.
Do you feel like the staffing for capital project management at DPR has grown to keep a pace with the work?
The staff has grown. And so have opportunities for them. They're just that good. We just lost someone in the capital improvement project and team, but I do believe that we have what we need. There's a great talent pool of individuals who love this work and who do this work, and I'm confident we'll be able to move and get it done.
Thank you. Now, I heard you listing off a bunch of sites that are getting improvements. There's $2.5 million for small parks improvement. Do you know which sites are included in that one?
Councilmember, I'm happy to jump in on that. I actually just sent an email to the budget office to try to get some clarification. We do know that $500,000 is for the small park in Mount Pleasant that was, I believe, spoke about. Or
The
was
Triangle Park on Park Road.
Triangle
Yeah.
Park, yes, ma'am. I'm actually still trying to get clarification on the other small park improvements that are included in that 2.6. But you're right, we do have a ton of sort of small projects that are included both in our small parks sort of budget and also, and I think this may speak to a question you had before, is we have several blitz projects that are going on where we have combined small projects together. And I think that gives us a lot of efficiencies moving forward to get more done through a single contractor, whereas going out for bid for this project and that project, I think that gives us a lot more efficiency in terms of being able to crank some of these projects out.
I see, because that's what you ended up doing with Hargrove and Unity in the end. Yeah, okay. Now, why is there no funding for the Small Parks Master Project beyond FY25?
I'm sorry, Council. Is this regarded to Ready to Play or the small parks plan and referred to as Ready to Play? Is that what you're referring to?
I think so. Is there not something called a Small Parks Master Project?
I do believe as part of Ready to Play, we do call out the need for such an item in our future planning or efforts, but I'm not aware of any small park plan document. If you're speaking to
Oh, sorry, in the capital improvement budget. I used a phrase that was confusing.
Okay, well, yes, ma'am. We do get annual smart park funding. And the way we go about, trying to identify these properties is we have folks out in the looking at all of our parks. We try to gather information on which of these parks needs the most work, especially if it's an issue related to the surfacing as a trip hazard, like a Unity Park or something like that. We have just a ton of small parks. We also have federal funding that's helping us get some of this done as well.
Great, that's great. I'm going to have some questions about the feds later, so stay tuned. And are there sub-projects under that part of the budget to identify specific sites, or is that why you have to ask the question? There is not.
So each year as we develop our small park request, we have to put forward a spend plan for how we'd like to spend that money. Sometimes when the mayor's budget comes out, it has additional funding, and we work with the budget office to, like we are now, to identify where that extra what parks that extra funding is going to go towards. Sometimes we know exactly what it's going to go towards. Sometimes we don't. So right now we're working with the budget folks to identify those other park locations.
Thank you. And I want to thank you all for the $5 million for erosion mediation at Calorama and at Lafayette Pointer. I was just passing by Calorama right before the budget came out thinking we need to do some erosion control. Is that funding split evenly between the two sites?
It's not. We don't actually have we already have an erosion project that's ongoing at Lafayette Pointer. Some of that funding is going to supplement that existing budget, and then the additional funding. We don't have the exact dollar amounts, but I would imagine of that $5 million, it would probably be about half and half right now. We don't have the exact scope of work defined for each yet, but I would imagine it would probably be 50-50 or around in there.
And why is the erosion control work so expensive?
It is really amazing. It's incredibly expensive. There's a lot of historic artifacts that we have to protect. It's a really a really dedicated project. These bioretention areas that we need to implement are extremely expensive. There's a lot of grading. We're moving around a lot of dirt. We're protecting historic assets, protecting trees. It is amazing to me how expensive it actually really is. We do think it's worth it because I think that we're losing district property left and right in our parks. So we want to make sure we spend these dollars we do have wisely.
Thank you. And I think we have time left to get into Rita Bright and Parkview, although it may take us into another round. In FY24, council rebalanced the budgets between the Parkview and the Rita Bright rec centers to make them about 16 million each. Is that still the amount budgeted for each?
It is. We actually recently updated those numbers, so they're exactly the same budgets as I understand it right now. Parkview, well, they're running a little bit separately, so we're working with our partners at DPR on the Rita Bright project. That one's moving forward through the DPR process. For Parkview, we're excited to move forward with that one quickly. We had I believe, a walk and talk not too long ago, and then I think that contract for the design build team will be awarded, I believe, this spring. So we'll be able to start, wholesale community outreach as soon as that occurs.
That walk and talk was so long ago, not so long ago. So I look forward to seeing that one moving forward. So you think, I'm sorry, you said you think that the next community engagement will be this spring, now-ish?
According to my notes, we anticipate the contract to the design builder being awarded by the end of this month, which will allow us to have a community meeting shortly thereafter. Yes.
Awesome. I love this. Now, we've asked that once community meetings for Parkview Rec start, they should incorporate community input on the 2 other park projects in the neighborhood. That's the Park Morton and the Bruce Monroe sites. Can you affirm DPR's commitment to that neighborhood level planning effort?
Council member, so you will see from DPR, we plan to do more, not just with Ward 1, but with all wards, ensuring, because as you heard, there are a lot of projects happening, and we want to make sure that everyone is appropriately incorporated. And so you will see that we have a timeline and a schedule that we'll be posting, and we'll send directly to you all so that you can make sure that you inform your community as well as we send to the ANCs and the other constituents and the other stakeholders.
That's great. The only point I'm trying to make with this is because all 3 are so close together, and especially because people have expressed sort of a sense of loss at Bruce Monroe because it's not going to be as big. We want people to be able to make the connections about all the community amenities that are going to be retained across the 3 sites. So the more that we can be doing those together, the better. And I know my time is over, and I'll come back to you. We can keep talking about it in another round. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll be followed by Ward 4 Councilmember Janice Lewis George, followed
Thank
by
you.
at-large member Christina Henderson.
Thank you, Chairman White. And I will try to be quick and efficient here. I'm chairing DGS hearing right now, and I took a break to make it over here to DPR. So I will run around and come back. I say that to say, when I ask you a question, y'all try to be brief. So I'm trying to get through a lot and hold back to this hearing. I'm going through all of Ward 4 capital projects, so you should be already ready for this one. Tacoma Rec and Aquatic Center. Let's talk about this. There was 20,000, it says 20,000 in the fiscal year for a playground fence. What's the status of that?
Hi, Councilmember. I believe that's included. Let me please double check that. I don't have any notes about that in particular. We said 20,000 for a fence at Tacoma Playground.
Playground fence.
I'm sorry. I will double check that.
Okay. For Tacoma, can you also confirm whether the splash pad replacement is going to be fixed before Memorial Day?
Yes, ma'am. I'll verify.
Okay. Many residents complain that they do not use the Tacoma dog park because they're afraid the dogs will jump over the temporary fence, which was installed by a resident. So what happened was the tree fell. A resident put up a temporary fence by themselves. The residents went and put a temporary fence after the tree fell, when we had that random, I don't know what we call it, storm that knocked down a bunch of trees. It is something we've been trying to get fixed for months. It looks crazy. If you go to the Tacoma Dog Park right now, it looks crazy. And I guess I'm wondering, is this part of your priority repair list for DGS? And when can we expect the fence to be fixed? Because right now it's been months, so no one's using the park because the fence is broken.
Councilmember, I'll be quick. I had heard about this. I don't have an update. I'm happy to follow up on it.
Okay, if somebody goes out there and look, you'll see it looks crazy. Thank you for reopening the Tacoma Fitness Center. We do, however, have some requests that you repair or replace the rusted workout equipment. Can you share an update on this? Would you need more? Are you going to need more funds to do the update to replace the rusted workout equipment, or is that something DPR already has sort of in their storage?
So prior to opening the Tacoma, we did repair the rusted equipment. It is in a pool, and you know the humidity. So we've been checking. So if there is any new equipment that's rusted, I'm not sure. But when we just reopened, we ensure that there was none.
Okay, we have an email from a constituent who took a bunch of pictures and emailed it to us, and I think we followed up via email to just show it to you all. It looks like the rust has returned because of the situation that's there. So I just wanted to get a sense of whether we're going to be, they sent us the picture in March, so you all should have it from a March email. I just need to get a sense of whether it's something that you all can replace or it's something we need to fund replacement of equipment. I want to be efficient, be effective here. And then if we replace it and if the same thing happens, we're just going to be in a never ending fun circle of wasting money. So I just want to know sort of cost there, if there's a cost or what it should be. My other question is, how much would it cost to renovate the locker room? So they were not upgraded during the roof replacement. You remember all the drama where everybody thought the roof replacement in the pool included in that, everybody thought the locker rooms were a part of the renovation. It was not in the scope of work. And so everybody, when it reopened, was like, where's our new locker room renovations? I would like to get a cost on sort of how much it would cost to renovate the locker rooms area at Tacoma. And then the last request is, can somebody try to get me that, please?
Gotcha.
And the time for this, thank you. And then the last one is very small, but the Bryce Harper Field, can we please repair the marquee sign for Bryce Harper Field? DGS has confirmed DGS has confirmed this is DPR responsibility, and it's been broken for years now. And I've been hearing about it every day, and I would just like to get that fixed. That should be that one's a small ask that can go a long way. Moving on to Riggs LaSalle. This one's been a little frustrating. I'm sure Tisha Cockrell testified earlier. Maybe I'm pretty sure she did. She always testifies. The Friends group is always on it. We have an email from Tisha on March 14th that still doesn't have a response. It's really many of the questions I have here. I think we also sent an email in February. I really need to get the answers to those questions for Riggs LaSalle, especially because if I have to make adjustments in the budget. So I'm just asking for as swift a response as I possibly can get on that email. And then I want to do a few things for Riggs LaSalle. Can we confirm that the playground shade structure is in summer 2024 playground blitz?
Councilmember, I will verify, but I believe it is. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can we confirm that the HVAC work in the gym is still on track to be completed in fiscal year 24?
That is confirmed.
Okay. And is there funding for their gym? And is there funding for the gym roof replacement?
I will check back, but I don't believe that that's in 24.
Okay. I think that was the one where it was originally funded, and then another project ended up taking that money from us. You end up sort of reallocating it to another project. And so just want to make sure we're going to be made whole from when it was originally taken from us in the original budget, in the fiscal year 24 budget. I see that the athletic field and park improvement small capital project includes funding for new synthetic turf field here. How much will that cost?
Councilor, we have, I believe it's $1.7 million set aside for replacement of that field in FY25.
Okay, I'm sorry, say the number again.
We have set aside $1.7 million for that field replacement.
Okay, got it. Okay. And the engineered wood fiber at this playground is very low in the playground area, leaving the play structure dangerously high. I have pictures of it somewhere I will share, but my question is, what does it take to get engineered fiber at the playgrounds put in there? We've been waiting a long time just to replenish the engineered wood fiber at the playground, and it's sort of dangerous now, given how low it is right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought the director was speaking. Yes, ma'am. So we can include that in the playground blitz or as part of the shade structure installation. Happy to do that.
Okay, part of the shade structure installation. Great. But actually, maybe is that going to happen this summer? We just need the wood fiber there for the summer because it's going to be a lot of kids there. Do we have wood
We'll
fiber
look at it. And so typically what happens before, as our part of our camp readiness, we do go out and inspect the playgrounds, and it's part of our summer readiness. And so we that's on the list.
Okay, so thank you. If you can put that engineered wood fiber at the playground and the summer readiness for Riggs LaSalle, that would go a long way for safety. Emory Heights, it looks like 13 million for full modernization. That's low. There's no way we can do what needs to happen at Emory for 13 million. I think it used to be 20 million. I feel like Emory got defunded over here. We know that there was supposed to be funding to replace the turf field. We know that the building is so old. That's why we continue to have elevator and HVAC issues, because the building is so old that the building needs to be redone, because the HVAC system and the elevator is going to continue to be a problem because it's just an old building. So help me understand sort of what's happening with this 13 million. I know that's not enough for turf field, elevator, HVAC, and modernization. So I need to get clarity on what's included in the scope of this project now, and whether there was a reduction in funding for it.
Sure, Councilmember. I can speak a little bit about the two budgets. So the turf field replacement is separate than the modernization project. So I believe that's at 1.3 or so for the turf field project.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening in FY24. The $13 million for the facility modernization is, I believe, in FY25.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a scope for that yet, but I actually felt pretty good about that budget for that facility. I know we were actually building or demoing and rebuilding new facilities for budgets less than that. So I think that's actually a sufficient budget for that amount of money. We can certainly share the scope because it's a future project. We haven't flushed out the entire scope yet, but we think we have a good idea of what it's going to include, sort of a basic modernization, new flooring, HVAC repairs. I think the elevator repairs are going to happen through DGS is my understanding. But we're happy to share that information as soon as we get that sort of developed.
Okay, good that the field is separate. The turf field is separate. That was my biggest concern. So it sounds like it might be right. Just scope of project wise, just want to make sure things are in there in case we needed to move money around from and refund that. But it looks like that should cover it. Okay. It looks like I only have 3 seconds left. So I will come back from DGS for another round. Thank you so much. And thank you for being efficient with the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. At large Councilmember Christina Henderson.
Thank you, Chairman White, and good afternoon, Director Freeman, and to your team. I want to start with DPR's registration process for recreational programming. So as you know, we've worked a lot in terms of getting a system that I think works pretty efficiently in terms of summer camp. But as soon as y'all opened up the registration for spring programming, the emails and the complaints and the issues in terms of, as soon as I get on the website, I can't get on, X, Y, or Z. Is there any funding in this budget that will allow for you all to expand the new sign-up process to be now for general registration of programming?
So what we recognize, and we're working with our partners at Vermont Systems, we do in our Rec for All include that as an option. We're exploring what changes we can make. We're also working with the vendor to see what amenities that they have that we pay for that can solve for some of this. But I will also tell you that in FY23, we had 39,000 individuals sign up for our camps, where this year was 54,000. And so we do have some immensely popular programs, and so we're finding some immensely popular problems that we need to solve for. Because as you know, when more people enter this sphere, it does, and it can have an impact on the system. And so we also have a program evaluation to look at our, a program evaluator to look at our registration processes. We recently toured other organizations, other jurisdictions to see exactly what they use. No one does camps the way we do.
Well,
so
so I'm
their
not
volume
actually
is not a large.
I'm not actually talking about camps. I think that
Okay.
there are always going to be kinks in the process, right? I think that our supply demands don't match up in a way that everybody gets served. I'm talking about for aquatics and gymnastics and basketball and t-ball, those types of programs. You know, I think there's similar frustrations around the sign up opens like Tuesday at noon, where you have people who are working at
Agreed. Agreed.
so are there
Agreed.
any ways for us to sort of transition that
Yes.
to a longer period of time?
Absolutely. I absolutely, yes. We recognize that that traditionally we saw the improvement and the number increase when we shifted and had the camp periods open for 2 weeks and more families were able to engage. As you know, any parent working a non-traditional hour job or something that they have to use their hands and they're not sitting in front of a computer, they don't have the option to sign up. And then the slots are, you're absolutely correct. And we're looking to mitigate that with the next sign up. So our next, I believe, is fall, so a fall registration. That you should see a change in that.
Okay,
Absolutely, we recognize.
good. That sounds good. I wanted to ask, so in terms of the proposed budget, we noticed about a $900,000 decrease in purchase equipment and machinery in the proposed budget. Now, is this equipment that's used at rec centers and things like that? And to what kind of impact is this type of cut going to have in terms of user experience?
So those were funds through the ARPA funding. Of course, it went away. What we are hoping is that the equipment that we were able to purchase through ARPA is sustainable, and we can continue to get good usage out of it to support our varied initiatives.
Okay, what type of things did you all purchase with that type of money? Just curious.
So the various activations for our youth, like you see some of the technology that the youth have, the gaming systems that we have, the mobile rec equipment, the stuff that we use for our late night hypes, those various equipments, some of the summer readiness, the slides that we have for the pool. So we're hoping that it will remain in good condition.
Oh yeah, because those were some popular pieces. It definitely around late night hype, late night drip, all of those different things. I hope that we're able to maintain those in good repair, because it has not been that long since we started to use that equipment. So this week on Wednesday, you guys are launching some expansion of hours at more than 20 different locations. Now, I didn't see any significant increase in your proposed budget around security or anything sort of corresponding with this change. Now we're doing this launch in FY24. Do we anticipate sustaining these additional or these elongated hours in FY25 as well?
Yes, we recognize that keeping our doors open longer provides for safety for our young people as we try to mitigate some of the things that are happening. So we do want to keep our doors open longer. We're looking at additional non-traditional ways. So the goal is to have these same hours in FY25 as well.
Okay. So like I said, I didn't see any increases in terms of staffing around security. I mean, even the proposed budget for the libraries adds some additional special police security type officers to those positions. How comfortable are you with where you are in current staffing levels? Okay.
So what we've done with our security footprint, we've looked at our areas and we've like a puzzle, we've moved security to specific areas. We've shifted the times when they come in. So instead of having security maybe at 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Rosedale, we'll have them come in the latter part of the day where it's more needed. And so we were able to look at the savings that way. And we also work with PSD. We have our roving leaders as well as our rangers who also offer a first line of supports.
Okay, great. Let's talk about bathrooms for a second at some of the parks and playground. So you guys have definitely listened to us in terms of opening up more of those facilities, especially on the weekends when you have a lot more families and things like that who are out. What was the increase, I guess, budgetary impact of being able to maintain these now additional facilities that you all didn't have to do before?
So I think last year for janitorial services for the outdoor bathrooms as part of summer, we bought an additional $500,000. We identified some of the sites where our families, we saw the heavy traffic, and we included it as part of our summer readiness and our pool janitorial services.
Okay, and we're maintaining that funding in the proposed FY25 because I don't want y'all like now that you opened them, you can't really lock them again because people are not going to be looking for them.
Correct.
Okay, all right. In terms of that, as you guys sort of prepare for the summer readiness, one of the things, so right now in the daytime, you don't often see a lot of kids who are at the rec centers and spray parks, etc. You may see some of the littles from early child care centers who are coming through, or haphazard. If there's like a charter school or something that has a day off, you might see something. And so what I have noticed is actually a lot more older individuals, not older like seniors, but older like teenagers and young adults, etc., who are hanging out on your playgrounds and things like that during the day. How do you all make that transition as you prepare for summer when now you're going to have summer camps, etc.? And so, you can't just hang out at the ping pong table and smoke with your buds, like, because there are actually going to be children around and using these facilities. How do you all have those conversations with neighbors around like appropriate uses of DPR equipment?
So we've partnered with the Office of Youth Programs at DOES to hopefully get all of them connected. Those that are underemployed or unemployed, we also partner with the ONE's office to connect our out of school or disconnected adults, because some of them are around 26, 27, right? Who may be too old for OYP, but is a good fit for DSI, project empowerment. So we're doing workforce readiness at our sites. I think Brentwood, Fairby Hopes, and then we also use our community partners in the neighborhood, the NARC, the various organizations who have organizations that do workforce development. We're opening up the rec center so that they can come in and tackle and address that population directly.
That's great.
And also we're trying to get them employed to work this summer because we have to hire about 700 people. So we have a readiness program internally where we're getting them ready.
Okay, that's great. It's sort of like, hey, you here, so you already like the area. Why don't you, if you're qualified, of course, make the transition and have an interest, not just qualified. Because if you don't like kids, don't take a job with DPR just because you're trying to get a check.
But I will say for those that are listening, that's a great point. But we do have like warehouse support services, lawn care. Like we have parks, 243 parks where that someone has to pick up trash on the weekends where we pull the trash from the different playgrounds. A lot of that stuff happens in-house with our level 1, tier 1 team. So you don't have to work with children.
Oh, that's true. All right. Well, I'm over time. Thank you so much, Director. Thank you, Chair White.
Thank you. Director, I want to jump back real quick about the shift in these FTEs. 248 decrease from site-based programming. Can you further explain that? Because I didn't get the clarity on that in your last explanation.
So we moved them to from site-based programming, but we put them in rec center operations. So they may have been camp staff employees. So we just aligned the Schedule A appropriately to align resources with the appropriate operational structure. So again, when you think about programming, you think about teams, you think about environmental. So they may have been categorized as program staff, but now they're in rec center operations where they're still there, but they're at STED, they're at Anacostia versus being listed as an environmental program employee. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yes, I'm understanding. I did also notice that the mobile recreation programming now have FTEs, 36. Are these different from summer staff and roving leaders managing that?
That is, those are so the roving leaders initially reported under comms. They reported under public engagement, PESD, and we realigned. And so now the roving leaders report under recreation services. So comms did not lose any positions, but recreation gained them. It appears it's just a shift from where they were aligned. And so we restructured because the roving leaders are mobile recreators,
Right.
although they're public engagement and public facing, but they needed to be aligned with the agency, the recreator side.
Thank you for that clarity. I did notice in last year's budget, there were 7 FTEs moved from roving leaders. How does that affect these numbers? You're muted, Director.
Okay, can you repeat that?
Yeah, in last year's budget, I noticed you just talked about roving leaders. There were 7 FTEs moved out of that category. How does that affect these numbers? I know we are in a state of emergency when it comes to public safety, and roving leaders have a very important role in rediverting some of our youth, especially some of our highest risk youth, and connect to our recreation centers. And I see the number 36, but I don't know if this is taking away that 7. How does this impact that number?
So the roving leaders actually increased positions last year. There were additional FTEs that were the roving leaders and within our Ranger Corps. So they both received additional FTEs. And so we did not lose any positions with the roving leaders. To your point, they're vital and important part of the fabric of DPR.
So how many did we increase?
There was an additional 5.
So, Director, are you saying it was 31 before, now it's 36?
Correct.
Okay, we have to do some research. I don't see that reflected in the last hearing questions. All right. You spoke about Jelliff in your testimony. And I know that it has $16 million added to its budget. Can you speak to the communication with Jelliff and Murray and the residents there, and what's the plan?
Yeah, we have to review that because I'm not I'm not for certain if those numbers their capital budget did not increase. And I can defer to Rose and or Brent.
Sure, Director. I can verify the capital budget for Jelliff did not increase and it stands, I believe, at $28 million.
And where are we with the renovations?
It's going through the design process now. I think we have an approved concept through CFA. It will continue to go through the design process. I believe the next step would be to hire the general contractor. That's not quite done yet. I believe they're going through the process of hiring that. As soon as the general contractor gets hired, we'll be able to provide a more updated sort of schedule for the beginning of construction to the end of construction.
What about the Carmel Recreation Center? When will they begin construction?
Sure, happy to answer that one. We actually had a great meeting with Commissioner Rhodes and some other folks a couple weeks ago in Carmel. We were about halfway through design there. We anticipate starting construction. It would probably be this coming winter into maybe early spring of I guess that would be 2025. And we're looking at roughly 12 to 16 months of construction work. A lot of that work is going to be on that historic schoolhouse to bring it back, stable again and make it so people can actually go inside and restabilize that. That's a lot of specialty work that takes some time. And then we're also going to add an addition onto the site that includes the gymnasium, the fitness room, things like that. So we're actually in a really good spot on that project, and the community is sort of happy where we are.
And has this been thoroughly communicated with the community? Because I know in performance oversight, they were saying they were not getting adequate updated communication.
Yes,
We've corrected that. We heard the concerns of the community. As you know, since the performance oversight chair, I joined you in the community and we walked the site. And so we have been more intentional. Those customer service reps do help with that. We have some time scheduled on our books. And again, we will be sending you calendar invites for all the upcoming community briefings so that you're aware.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate that and the walkthrough. I think that was very helpful for the residents despite the rain. I did also notice that there was an increase in money for Furby Hope boxing gym. I think you noted as an annex.
Yep.
Can you speak to that project and just the vision of that?
Absolutely. We heard the concerns of the community. As you well know, initially when the project was designed and built, the annex was designed for partner spaces. And so initially, there's various who did what, who's on first, who's on second, who did it, how it got done. But at the end of the day, you heard the community, I heard the community. They don't want the partner spaces. They want a boxing facility, which used to be there historically. And so I know that initially you provided a $250,000. We were able to look at what we could do and how much it would cost for the boxing gym, and it came around $1 million. And so we're looking to, with this funding, to get that project started.
Got it. And I know it's $1 million. I don't know what that's going to do. And is that adequate? Is there any analysis done for what it would take to right size that space?
Brent did some analysis. Brent, you want to speak to that?
Sure, Chair White. We actually conferred with DGS, so thank you for the original $250,000. And we went to DGS and said, how much would it take to make this into a, world-class boxing annex, given the space we have there? And so they said, $750,000. So we're in a great spot to make that come into fruition. Excited about it.
All right. I know, and I will speak later about equipment and managing operations and staff, but for a later time. With Northwest One Library now moving from its current location, will RH Terrell Recreation Center be taking over that former space? If somebody can give me some information on that.
I do have an update. We did get $1 million in our capital budget. I believe it's for FY, forgive me if I'm wrong about it. I think it's FY25. And I think the intention is that once DCPL moves out of that space, that $1 million will go towards converting that old library space into new recreational use space. And of course, we'll definitely have some community outreach to help us or help inform what that might look like. And forgive me if I've got the fiscal year wrong. There's been a lot of movement, so that may have shifted, further out into the budget years.
Thank you. I'm over my time for this round. I see we've also been joined, in addition to the former members that were here, Councilmember Brooke Pinto and also Councilmember Matt Fruman, who was here earlier. So I'm gonna go to Councilmember Fruman. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, Chairman White. And great to see the team from DPR. In your testimony, Director Freeman, I think you said in passing that the budget would allow, I thought I heard you say that it would allow for extending pool hours. Did I hear that correctly?
– Councilmember, I apologize. She stepped away for just a second. She's on her way back right now.
Okay.
Apologies. She is back now. Would you mind repeating the question?
Sure.
I got you. I got
sorry.
you. I heard you.
You heard me?
Yes,
That's great.
extending
That's great.
pool hours. I did. I heard you. Extending pool hours for this summer. So what we're doing, we're looking at our vacancies. We look at our vacancy savings. We hire for the summer. We budget for the number of individuals that we hire as if they were to work all summer. And we have an attrition rate that we have at about 18%. So we look at that vacancy savings as to how we can extend pool hours so that we're not having an additional impact on our budget.
And so
that's how we were able to do it in FY23.
In FY24, last summer, I see. What does it look like for this coming summer? I mean, what you did last time, which I think you created early morning hours, I believe at Hearst and another pool someplace else in the city, and you extended into the fall, into September, again, Hearst, and I believe it was Oxen Run. Those things were very, very popular. Now, I know at Hearst, partly driven by the closure of the Wilson pool, which I'm getting increasingly confident will be over, but that's a separate question. Still, it's a really popular, successful program. Will you look at those things again for this summer if you have the money available?
Absolutely. We aim to please and we love to serve. And so where we can, we will. And you're right, it was extremely popular for families as well as young people, all ages. So we are looking at it. That is one thing that we have and are asking the pool of candidates that are working this summer, when do they have to, how long can they stay? As you know, many of our lifeguards are collegiates or high school students. And so we're looking at the delta of how many of them can stay past Labor Day.
So, I mean, there's the past Labor Day, and that's super important. And back in the day, East Potomac pool was open, I think, almost to November. It was heated and it was really a great asset. And now we've lost that, which is a shame, but creating some fall time and located in different parts of the city so it fully serves all communities, super important. The early morning hours also was a big thing. Are you looking at that? Are you open to trying to create some early morning hours also?
We're looking at all things. Everything is on the table. I do remember in September, it got brutally cold the last week of, it went from exaggerated summer to extreme cold fall in the middle of September. And so, there are a couple of variables that we are at their mercy. But yes, all of those things are on the table.
Okay, great. And I promise you, I hear from people all the time, so you'll probably hear from me. So it's a pleasure talking with you. The Hearst Field, which is another one of these things that we talk about, and I went by there the other day, and I mean, it's bad.
It is.
And so what's our thinking? What's your thinking about what we can do there?
The challenge is it is an overused field. It is an overused field. We have discussed fencing it to try to keep people off because, you know, when we stake it, they play on it, they disregard, please stay off the field. And in order to get the full beauty of it, it has to rest. But the community wants to play. And so that is where we are, and that is why it looks the way it does.
And what are we gonna do? I mean, is there anything we can do for this for the seasons? I mean, I don't know. I haven't been there since spring sports season would have started, but unless there's been something dramatic done, it's gotta be in terrible shape. And there's like rocks and things. But what's the next step to try to improve it? Reseed it or resod it, or do you have anything in the pipeline that you're thinking about doing in order to try to make it better, even in the face of the challenges that you have about overuse?
So we have some budgets for fencing. We're going to look at what the cost it would be to fence it to see if that is something that would help sustain it.
I mean, fencing is not going to be a popular thing. So I would before you go ahead and fence it, I'd want to have a heads up that is going to happen. I think you don't. Well, I don't know.
We didn't say we're looking at the possibility, and this is where the challenge comes, right? Because the community wants it and the community wants to use it. But because it's a natural field, it has to rest. So this is where you and I have spoken about how we can work together to socialize the appropriate message, because maybe they don't hear it from DPR, but maybe they do hear it from you. If that's the ask, I don't know, but I'm glad to work with you on that because I recognize it's a beautiful, I mean, the whole compound is beautiful and I would love to see it in its full natural state, but it requires a rest.
All right, well, let's keep talking about this because it may be that the options that the community face are limited. One of them, one could be the status quo where the field is not in good shape. Another could be fencing in a natural field, and which I don't know that there's a promise that it wouldn't still be overused, to tell you the God honest truth, because it's a really high demand field. And another might be artificial turf. But that creates different challenges, but there's a series of realistic choices, and maybe we need to do better at communicating what those realistic choices are.
Absolutely. And full disclosure for the public and anyone who's listening, we had a proposal last year from an organization to completely turf the field. I think it was a in-kind donation of $1 million of whatever it would cost to turf the field, but they also wanted exclusive rights to the field. And that is not anything that DPR is looking to do or want to do. We do not want to have one organization exclusively use a field and limit the availability for the community. So I just wanted to put that out there because we did receive it and we also rejected the proposal.
No, and I completely understand that. And while I admire the people who put forward the proposal, because I think that they were trying to address an issue, I also think you did the right thing by rejecting that proposal. To me, a thing that I would want to do is bring together various stakeholders who use the field so that it didn't feel like you were doing something that was exclusive to one group or another, and see if there was a way to try to make something happen. But that's right now, nothing's happening except that you are looking into whether or not there would be money and there would be efficacy to adding a fence.
And I appreciate you for that. I appreciate you and your support in that.
Okay, so Wilson Aquatic Center, I think I'm probably going to leave you alone, except because I'm coming from the DGS hearing where Director Hunter talked about what's happening, talked about having gotten additional dollars to do repairs on the inside, that the HVAC system is essentially 95% done. Some there, that you're getting there. And he wouldn't, you guys have been saying spring of 2024, which is, my complaint, that's March 20th to June 20th, but hoping earlier than that. He wouldn't commit. But it was interesting the way he put it, that he was going to, he hoped he would be able to say by Memorial Day. And I hope that it can be by Memorial Day, but we'll see. He didn't say by Memorial Day. He hoped, he said he hoped he could say, if he's ready by Memorial Day, are you ready by Memorial Day? Do you have the folks to be able to get in there and staff it lined up?
So I think our capital our comprehensive plan is called Ready to Play. We are ready. And so if once DGS is ready, we will make sure we get DOH in there and get the appropriate inspections, staffing, all of those things, because I hear what you're asking. And we can't wait to bring that amenity on. I almost wore blue for you in the Wilson Aquatic Pools, but we're here. And we're ready to play. So yes, we will be ready.
You get that record. That lime green is a great choice. I'm going to shift to Ward 2, Councilmember Brooke Pinto. Questions?
Great. Thank you so much, Chairman White. And hi, Director Freeman. Great to see you. Thank you so much to you and your entire team for all you do throughout the year. We're so excited about so many of the fantastic projects and openings that have come online and that are underway this year. I want to ask you first about a pilot program that we worked together to set up last year. And one of the most consistent things that we hear from families and kids across the city is the desire to have more access to recreational space, especially on weeknights and on weekends. And so those schools that have opened up their space to the public is fantastic. And we want to continue incentivizing and supporting those school leaders. And those schools that have not opened their space to the public, we want to make it as easy as possible. One of the most consistent things we hear about is need for custodial support for when trash is left and for security. And so last year we started a pilot program for Banneker High School and Garrison Elementary School for custodial support and security support. There's $197 million put in the budget that came into effect October 1. So my first question is that funding retained in the supplemental budget? And second, 6 months into the fiscal year, where are we with getting this pilot off the ground?
So yes, this is a project that we're working with DCPS, DGS, and DPW via MOU to ensure that all of the specs are aligned. But yes.
So what is the status of that MOU process?
We're still working to define, so the schools are open, but we're working on, the spaces are open. We're working on some other things as far as janitorial and stuff. We're in the final stages of the MOU process, but the schools have been opened. And we want to get a true, accurate exactly what the funding is and what it's been costing to open the spaces.
What do you mean the schools have been open?
The sites are open. So we actually have the sites open. The Garrison Playground is open. The sites are open.
Well, Garrison Playground has always been open because the principal opens it to the community. Banneker is not open, and they still have gates closed, which is part of the arrangement to make sure that both school communities had the custodial and security support that they need to either continue or start the opening.
Let me confirm, because from my understanding, they've been open. I will confirm and have a response for you.
But even if they are all open, we still need the security and custodian support. So I guess I'm trying to understand what the hurdle is in signing the MOU.
I think it was the logistics with the services, but I will get back to you. Again, to my understanding, they're open. You're telling me that they're not. I want to confirm with the other partners because from my understanding, they are, and I want to make sure that I get you an appropriate response.
Garrison is open and has always been open. Banneker is open at some location, at some areas of the field space, but their gates are still closed off, disallowing access from neighbors to kind of pass through, which was part of the deal in opening Banneker at that site. And so our hope and expectation was that once this pilot is off the ground with security and custodian support, then the gates would be opened.
Okay. I'll look into that and get you I'll have something for you, definitive.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate your focus on it. I just worried that we're getting towards the end of the school year at performance oversight. I asked about this and was told we'd get back to us with information that we didn't receive. And so I just want to make sure that this stays a focus because I would like to see this type of support broadened for schools around the city. And so this pilot was really meant to work out some of these kinks so that we can ultimately expand it. And so I'm very worried about going into another school year without having it off the ground.
I understand all legitimate concerns, and I'll work to get you. You will have a response from us. I will ensure it's top of mind and top of presence. So,
okay.
And I apologize for the delay.
Thank you very much, Director. So Jelif, I understand that some of the funding is getting moved back to fiscal year 2025 because they won't be needed until then. The latest update that you all provided on this project was indicated that the architect had been selected and that you were working with DGS to select a general contractor. Has that general contractor been selected yet?
Brent, can you speak to that, please?
Sure. Hi, council member. I'm looking at my notes right now. I don't believe that general contractor has yet been selected, but they are projecting, I believe, that to be done this spring, which will allow us to proceed with the design and the construction on schedule for the start of construction early spring of 2025. So that should be coming up very soon. We have several projects that are very near award like that.
Okay. And has there been any reconsideration about the space of the gym size, particularly in the second floor gym above the atrium?
I do know there's been a lot of conversation about it, and it's my understanding that we were at a good place. I think that there was a request for 2 full-size gyms, or some combination of their of gym spaces, and we've been working with the community and Bob at the facility to come up with a design that everybody understands that this is within budget and this meets the the needs of the programs. It's my understanding that we are at a good spot. I apologize. We have too many projects, and I'm getting old. I can't remember the exact dimensions, but I'm happy to follow up with you exactly what that looks like.
Okay, thank you so much. That would be helpful because there's been understandably a great amount of community interest, and we want to make sure that the facility meets the needs of both the community in the surrounding neighborhoods, but also for the whole city. And the Boys and Girls Club offers services for kids in all 8 wards. And so we want to make sure that their capacity is not limited in the gym space for activities. All right, I only have, let's see, Francis Field. What's the status of the jurisdiction transfer between NPS and DPR?
Great news. So we have come to agreement with NPS. Actually, I think it just took a couple conversations. We're moving forward with a combination of a TOJ / cooperative management agreement that lets us do what we want to do there. So things are moving forward. We're moving forward with that agreement. That hurdle is over. So it is moving forward, thankfully. So we're excited to move it forward.
All right, fantastic. I love good news. Do we have a timeline by which we think that will be signed and completed?
It should be. Honestly, I'm not sure about the timeline for the. I can find out. I will find out.
Thank you.
For the agreement timeline.
Yes, and
Sure.
for when it will be really effective, I guess is most relevant. But
Gotcha. Okay.
Farragut Square Park, there was funding in the FY 2024 budget for 9.8 million across the capital improvement plan. with 300,000 in fiscal year 2024 to activate Farragut Square. The proposed budget this year seems to shift that funding to Historic Green Triangle Improvements Project, which covers multiple parks. And so how much will be specifically set aside for Farragut Square Park?
Yes, ma'am. So that definitely, the scope of that project has increased and is now, as you mentioned, the historic Green Triangle Parks. The budget hasn't changed, still $9.8 million. We don't actually know yet sort of the funding difference, although I believe the majority of the funding, the capital funding, will be used at Farragut. The others include McPherson and President's Park, or I think that's Lafayette Park there. And we're pretty limited on what we can do in those two other spaces. So although we don't have the breakdown, I think that I can say with a lot of certainty that the majority of the funding will be spent on Farragut.
Okay, and that won't interfere with the Francis Field timeline?
No, not at all.
Okay, great. Well, I'm about to be out of time, but thank you all very much. Really appreciate it, and just want to highlight as an additional priority to make sure that we continue moving forward on Book Hill Park, and ensuring and the Book Hill Triangle Park, and making sure those projects remain on track. So thank you very much. Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Director Freeman. Appreciate you, and thank you, Chairman White. Chairman White, we can't hear you, or at least I can't hear you.
Check 1, 2. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was talking my head off. I was saying that lunar eclipse was happening right now, so I guess people are trying to check that out. We have some glasses, but
You got to do it with glasses on, even for a second. Apparently, could injure the eyes.
Yeah, it's always that temptation to just try anyway, but yeah, I guess the risk won't be worth the reward. Director, there was a lot of conversation about the seniors wanted to go to Camp Riverview for 5 days, and I know you heard that. And can you give a response to that?
Yes. It is our teenagers, as you've heard me call them. They are younger and more active. We have and they went to Camp Riverview, as she stated. They went in 2 sessions, and it was immensely popular. Everything that we do for the seniors, we're seeing it is extremely popular. I think last year at the Senior Fest, we saw 4,000 seniors. 2,500 showed up, and I mean 2,500 registered and 4,000 showed up. The boat trip, it sold out in the first hour. We had to do another. So to your point, our senior programs are just extremely popular. We do take them. We did about 80 trips for our seniors over the summer. We've had to use partner with other transportation services because our seniors and our young people, both in the summertime, having trips all throughout the area. And so it is popular. And we're trying to do as much as possible and serve as many as possible. So that's why we reduce it from 5 days to 3 days, so that we can have both happening and serve a larger number of people.
Thank you. And I do know that there was conversation today with Ms. Cockrell about the $1 million that was allocated, well, specifically for repairs, that she felt that was taken out of the budget. I know we asked this last budget cycle, and it was told to us that it was still there. Can you speak to that, Director Riggs LaSalle?
Brent, you want to speak to that?
Sure. I believe it was Chair White that we had split so Riggs LaSalle roof replacement. I believe we're talking about the roof replacement project. Is scheduled for FY24, along with another at King Greenleaf. We had just phased those because King Greenleaf is leaking so bad that it's created actually a safety hazard on the inside, that project is slightly ahead in terms of timeline than Ridge LaSalle, although they are both scheduled to happen in FY24. So hopefully that, if that's helpful in terms of clarifying, they are both funded in FY24.
And when is that projected to start? Just is April.
Sir, Ridge LaSalle, I'm sorry. The anticipated award is the first week of May, so next month. That's when the award is. Typically, when the award takes place, then we get an actual project schedule from the construction team. So, apologize, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but it is scheduled to be awarded to a contractor early next month.
Early next month?
Correct.
Thank you. And so back for clarity on Jelliff, because I know you said there was not an increase. So there was not an increase, but I do see that the total budget estimated was 28,188,000. With one of the allotments, 7 million came first. It says funding by phase priority. So initially in approved in FY22 for 21 million, and then it popped up again for 16 million in FY 2025. So I don't know if that was planned in the out years, just trying to get clarity on this, because when I brought it up, it was told that that was inaccurate. So I'm trying to figure out what are the accurate numbers and how much is the total amount with Jelliff Recreation. So
Right. It is confusing. The total budget amount for Jelliff is 28 million. It did start out lower and funding was added in a previous year. But that 28 million has been locked in for I think a couple of years now, or maybe this is the second fiscal year. There are some issues in the capital budget, the PDF of the capital budget, that have some totals for projects that might be reading incorrectly. We're working with folks at the budget office to get those numbers corrected. But the budget for Jelliff is 28 million.
thank you for that clarity. I just want we need clarity in my staff to track this thing, and also for the public and those who are watching, so we can manage expectations and timelines on these projects.
If I may, just
Sure.
to provide a little bit further clarity, the figures that you see in the capital budget on the estimated full funding cost line, this figure is based on system algorithms that sum prior funding and proposed funding. The prior funding maintains the approved budget and does not consider the supplemental budget, due to the fact that of course, the supplemental budget remains under review for approval. However, once the supplemental budget is approved, the prior funding will be adjusted to consider the approved supplemental budget, and subsequently, the estimated full funding cost will adjust to also capture what's in the supplemental budget. So it appears, in summary, that there was an addition, but that's not the case.
Thank you.
Okay.
On the same line of capital improvement, there is a potential project for RFK Stadium grounds. Just wanted to know, has there been any architectural renderings done? And what is the reality of that project at this particular point?
Sure. Chair, there have been no architectural renderings done yet. It was budgeted for the out years. I will say that the mayor did put $500,000 in their FY24 supplemental budget, so we can begin a feasibility study to look at the site, to understand the site we're working with, to look at the utilities on the site. And one thing that would be great to get out of that $500,000 feasibility study would be an idea of what this could look like. So I am excited about that funding being included in this fiscal year.
Thank you. There was a question about noise. about the playground needing repairs, make some system repairs. And while we're on that, can you speak to also Park Road, Triangle Park? No seats in the park, no electrical outlets. They asked for $400,000. Have you received that request? And what's your thoughts on these two locations?
Sure, Chair White. So, with regards to the Ward 1 Triangle Park, the Park Road Park, we do have funding in our FY25 small parks budget specifically for that space. So that's great news. That aligns with the community's request there. As far as Noise Park goes, we did replace the playground surface, and it was in really poor condition a year ago. So we were glad to get that fixed, but there are some other issues, I think, on site that we are working with our partners at DGS to track those work orders to see if we can get that work done as quickly as possible. I will say we also have taken steps as an agency to have folks out in the field looking at these things proactively to identify issues that we can proactively say, this is an issue. We need to get this repaired before it turns into a prolonged issue that in turn turns into a larger capital project. So trying to capture these things sooner is a big goal of ours.
Thank you. What is the update on Fort Grabble and Congress Heights getting started?
Sure. Yeah, Fort Grabble is we have the design team. Bell Architects is working with Caramonte Construction. We're working right now to finalize the contract to start the demolition of that facility. We believe that'll happen late spring and early summer of this year. And I think that project, Chair, is probably going to take about a year to complete. Although it's small, there's quite a bit of work that's going to go into that, a lot of reconfiguration of the site. We want to make sure the splash pad is back working and operational again. And also the community garden is really popular there. So we're going to relocate that community garden from behind the old facility because it's been a bit of a safety issue because it's really dark back there right now. So lighting upgrades are also part of that project. Congress Heights, I believe, the abatement of that old small field house is complete. And they had to do that before we can tear down the building. So next thing is to tear down the building, which I think is scheduled for the spring, and hoping to start construction on the new facility this summer. And we anticipate that to take between 12 to 16 months.
Thank you. If you can send me those timelines, that'll be helpful. I have my Ward 4 Councilmember Janice Lewis George back and have another number of questions. Councilmember Janice Lewis George.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Trayon White. I want to start back on capital and then I'll get to some of the substantive stuff. Fort Stevens Recreation Center, is that still on track for a splash pad blitz before Memorial Day 2024?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Great. That's exciting. We look forward to it. I just was talking to DGS about this, about some of the fences that are broken across the DPR portfolio. I want to know, how about there's a hole in the fence as well at Fort Stevens Recreation Center that's been broken for months now as well. Is that on track to be addressed in the summer blitz?
We'll look at it. We do have a lot of fencing, as you know. Sometimes, unfortunately, people cut our fences, and so we'll look at it.
Okay. The fiscal year 25 budget includes money for a quote playground surface blitz here. Does this mean a full replacement of the existing surface? And is this likely to be completed next summer?
We're going to look at, so right now we have an inventory of all of our playgrounds that need repair, some surface repair, some major repairs. And hopefully we can get started once we get an inventory of what the need is. But I do expect it will conclude by the end of next fiscal year.
Okay. Hamilton Recreation Center, the fiscal year 25 budget includes money for a playground surface blitz there. Does that mean a full replacement of the existing surface? And again, is that likely to be completed by next summer?
I believe I apologize, Councilmember. We have so many blitzes, but I do remember that one is in the a new blitz called the State of Good Repair Blitz. So that would be FY25 funding. I do believe that one should be able to be completed, and that would by, I think was your question, next summer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Next summer, I do believe next summer that should be viable or doable easily. And I'm familiar with that playground. I believe that would be a full surface replacement. Full
Okay.
surface PIP.
Hamilton is listed for a new and the climbing structure replacement as well as a slide replacement. So that is listed for Hamilton. Also, we have fixed the fence several times at Fort Stevens, and it keeps getting, so we're working through some other challenges there as well.
Gotcha. Lafayette Pointer Recreation Center, can we please get the rocks removed from the area between the field house and the lower field? I know the lower field surface is a DCPS decision, and so that's a whole different thing. But I want to make sure we're on the timeline still for the other parts of the project, which is the erosion project, which is on our side.
Yes, ma'am. That's in part of the scope of work that's going to happen actually before the field project, so that will happen prior to anything else. The rocks, gotcha.
Lamont Rec Center, is the swing set there part of your summer 2024 playground blitz?
It is. I don't know if it's included. I get so confused on what's included in a blitz or not, but it is. We have funding for it. Probably would include it in that blitz for the sake of efficiencies.
Okay, it's just a swing set at the playground. Lamont wants a whole new playground. I mean, obviously we're in a tight budget year, but at the very least, the swing set, the hope is that it would be a part of the 2024 summer blitz. So that at least the playground can be utilized in that function. As you know, Petworth, I want to confirm the playground shade structure is in the summer 2024 playground blitz for Petworth Recreation Center. And again, this is another space where, and I had pictures and I think I left it in the hearing room, that we have engineered wood fiber that is too low in the playground area, and that's leaving the play structures dangerously high, and exiting the playground is a trip hazard where the black rubber mat sort of is a wood fiber is low. So I just want to make sure wood fiber replacement and the shade structure are both going to be a part of the summer 2024 playground blitz.
That's right, and I'm happy to, because this is actually going to help me. We're happy to put together the list of everything that we included in these splits if it's helpful to you.
Great.
And
What I'll do is I'm gonna send you my list. This will be helpful.
Okay.
I'll send you a list of all of my DPR centers and what I hope will be included in the summer 2024 blitz. And you can come back to me and say yay or nay to it. That would be helpful.
Thank you.
Twin Oaks Garden, that's a huge issue we have. What's the status of the roof replacement? We funded $200,000 in the fiscal year 24 budget for Twins Oak Garden.
That is definitely funded. That's scheduled to be completed this fiscal year. I'm sorry, I don't have an exact date, but I'm happy to find out for you.
Okay, if you could follow up, just like, the community just wants sort of dates of sort of when we can expect it. And, we're in April, so we just like to get a real time update on Twin Oaks Garden. Upshur Recreation Center, can you confirm the design and construction timeline for this project is still that you plan to begin construction near end of calendar year 2024 and complete the full project by the end of 2025 or start of 2026? I noticed that the project budget increased substantially from our previous CIP to this year's plan. And so I'm wanting to know, did the scope of the project change? And if the scope changed, does the timeline change?
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned the budget change. There we just actually spoke about, and you may have been on the DGS hearing. There have been some incorrect information or numbers that were included. I think there's some double counting that's happening part of the capital budget in terms of the project totals. So I don't believe the Upshur budget has actually changed in sort of real life. I think that's a summation total, but we'll verify the scope hasn't changed. But we do anticipate holding our first round of community meetings this summer at Upshur, and that would probably take about, I think that would take us into 2025 for the start of construction, being completely honest.
Okay.
So Councilwoman George, just to add to that, not so much that there's an incorrect or an inaccuracy in the budget, but that there's a change in the supplemental that's pushing funds out from 24 to 25. And the budget chapter that you're probably reviewing indicates that it's still in the prior, but we've pushed it out to 25 or 26 or some future year. The chapter, the way it's reporting, it doesn't capture the supplemental until the supplemental is approved. So right now, what you're referring to may seem like an increase when it's not until the supplemental is going to be approved.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
Great.
ANC4C shared with us that there's a request for DPR they had a request for DPR to establish a working group, and it was denied despite a similar working group being formed for the Palisades Rec Center in Ward 3 a few years ago. Why not have an organized working group to facilitate community feedback like DCPS does with the school improvement teams, their SIT teams?
I don't know that. Yeah, let us look into that. Feedback is a gift.
Understood.
So let us look into that.
Okay. Walter Reed Poole, this is the mayor's project. This is the one ask of me as her council member. And so I noticed that this project budget increased substantially from our previous CIP to this year's plan. Can you explain that increase and confirm that the construction timeline is set to be complete by late 2026?
I can confirm the timeline is correct. The as Rose just spoke about, the budget makes me nervous because I haven't looked at that specific project to verify if that budget number is the lifetime budget is accurate or not, but we can definitely double check that.
Okay. Great. I'm glad to hear that the construction, the timeline is still where it is. I want to ask about a few more. The park and security and cleanliness, is there money in this budget to install a better security system at Petworth Recreation Center? And is there money in this budget for increased security staffing at Petworth Recreation Center?
So what we did, we looked at where we assessed the entire inventory of all the pools, the parks, the playgrounds, spray parks, aquatic centers, and we moved security where there was a greater need.
Okay. Petworth Rec, we I'm just going to put a plug in it. If that's a funding need, I need to know, because we need a better security system at Petworth, and we need to increase security at Petworth. It's an area hotspot. Is there money for janitorial services at Roosevelt Pool? In the past, funding for this has come from DPR, and so the Roosevelt Pool janitorial services we've had back and forth for a number of years. I think we got it on track. I just want to make sure there's money in this budget for it.
Yes.
Okay. And are we keeping DPR's park and field care team?
Yes.
Okay. I have to ask about a policy. There's a ballet program at Chevy Chase that reached out. DPR policy is that if students aren't being charged for a program, providers pay $5 to use a space. I'm not sure why the price would go up this fall when their circumstances, I think, aren't changing. Why not continue to charge them the lower rate? This is a great program led by a fantastic teacher. Let's please help them. They had 2 graduates who got full scholarships to college as dancers from participating in this program, and so many more. So I just wanted to understand the policy there.
There are some variables. We love our partners in Chevy Chase. There are some variables there. So one portion where we understand that they don't charge, but then they have on the website that they do charge, and it's There's some interesting variables there. We love the partnership there. We want to keep them as partners. We just want to make sure that we've also had complaints from constituents who couldn't afford to attend the program and were turned away.
Okay.
And so we're getting, we're working with them to resolve their longstanding partnership.
Okay, understood. My last question, and then this is something that I want the committee to follow up. I don't necessarily need to follow up here. But there's several small capital projects lists that don't include specific projects or spend plans. So when I look at the small capital budget for here, like ADA compliance project is 2.6 million in fiscal year 25, but there's no specific project list. The small park improvements project is 2.6 million fiscal year 25, but no specific list. The general improvements project includes 750,000, but no specific list. Playground equipment project equals 9 million in fiscal year 25, but a partial plan was provided there. And then fitness and wellness hubs equal 1.8 million, but no specific lists. And then I appreciate that the access and security infrastructure project says there will be fencing and gate repair blitz in fiscal year 25, but it doesn't give any specifics. So I guess as the committee looks at the small capital budget and this money where it says no specific lists, if you all don't specify it, anything that's not specified can be moved. So I don't know if you plan to later update the committee on those small capital budget projects.
Absolutely. And I think the challenge is we have a lot of fences in disrepair, right? They can be fixed one day and then the next day there's a hole in them. And so we just want to do an assessment of what is going to be the best and how we can best use those dollars. And so, but we will update. We hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay. My last comment is just one thing that I would have loved just to be improved is just responsiveness regarding sort of from ward members alike. I want to say I'm a ward member. I talked to other colleagues and I don't need to name them, but 2, 5, 6. I think all of us are a little frustrated with responsiveness, specifically with DPR, our constituent services teams and our policy teams. And so I'm just asking for overall effort to try to improve responsiveness to the council offices and specifically to our constituents when they, more importantly, them, with some of the emails, it's just like, if I actually request, it's for a reason. And especially in this budget season where we have a tight budget, if I'm actual budget request, it's for a reason. I don't want to move anything that doesn't need to be moved. I don't want to take nothing that don't need to be taken. But if you don't respond to me, we can't work together in that regard. So my overall ask is just improved responsiveness to our offices, in the questions that we have that come up with our things. And that's
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's important to us. We've recently made some changes in our partnership and strategic initiatives alignment, and the goal is to solve for that. I've heard that. And so we will solve for that.
awesome. Thank you so much, Councilmember Trayon White. Thank you to the DPR team and look forward to a good rest of the budget season.
I think you might mute Chairman White. Chairman White, you might be on mute.
Check 1, 2.
Yep, there you are.
We can hear you now.
Wow. Okay. I was unmuted, but so I want to thank you, Director Freeman, and your leadership.
Chairman White, I still had another round of questions that were.
I have another hearing to jump in, Councilmember Freeman. I didn't know you had another round of questions.
Can I step in and do my questions and then close it out when I'm done?
Sure, but let me get my my closing statement then, if you're gonna do that.
Okay,
all right, I want to thank you, Director Freeman, and your staff for your diligence and your coming around the sun. I'm gonna say that because the solar. This year, it's been a pleasure working with you. I look forward to figuring out how we can increase adequate programs for our seniors and our teenagers, everybody in general, particularly those particular groups have been coming to the council, coming to me, asking for more conversation and input. I think that you have been open to that. DPR has been the front line of DC government, doing a number of important tasks to keep us looking good and having fun and enjoying ourselves in the district. And it's also, also want to continue down the vein and figure out how we can increase the salaries and levels of staffing as relates to grades in the District of Columbia, particularly in DPR as well. I look forward to working through that. We have gotten a number of responses from you through the questionnaire that we are analyzing, we're sharing with our colleagues to figure out what we should be doing in this budget. So we'll be sending a number of follow-up emails with you trying to correspond where we are with some things. And so trying to figure out where the happy medium lies. And so I'll digress and go to Councilmember Matt Fruitman for additional questions and close out. And just for those who are joining.
Before you go, Councilmember White, I just wanted to thank you because I know you're jumping off. I just want to thank you for your tireless commitment and the ability to, I enjoy the back and forth and how we can grow the agency. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. And for those who have not got a chance to speak, the official record will close on Monday, April the 22nd, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. You can send it online at submit testimony on dccouncil.dc.gov website, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Chairman White. Director Freeman, I won't go on for too terribly long, but just a couple of different things. I saw you the other day at Livingston Chevy Chase Recreation Park, Recreation Center. That was a great event, and I threw a strike. I mean, I did not think that was going to happen.
You did. I applauded you then, and I'll applaud you again. Congratulations.
I was nervous about that. The mayor said, "Oh, don't worry about it," and then they set her up to throw underhand. So, anyways, at that park, there's the net. That keeps foul balls from going into where children play. There's a net at that park and there's a net at Guy Mason. And in some things, there's a question like, is this DPR or is this DGS? I'm told this is DPR. When can we hope to get those nets fixed?
That's going to be part of our field blitz. We're looking at those nets. We know that we're in season. Saturday was a kickoff for many of the baseball leagues around the district. And so we're looking at where we can repair those with what we already have in our inventory and working with DGS as well.
So and that could happen in weeks, months?
It could happen next year. I don't want to overcommit, but we're looking at it. We're trying to figure out the ones that are priorities and what we can replace. Right now, we will.
Okay, so I mean, it is. I don't know. I want to get too much in the business of picking between different ones, but the one at the Chevy Chase Rec Center, it actually goes in. If a foul ball went, it would go into a place where children are playing. So hopefully we can get that addressed. There's an indication of doing a resurfacing of the Fort Reno tennis courts. Really grateful for that. The Jackson Reed tennis team uses those courts. I think they're effectively not usable right now, but I don't know if they're using them. It's in next year's budget. I just urge that we make a priority before tennis season starts for the school that we get those fixed. When in fiscal year 25 is your target to get these tennis courts resurfaced?
So I'm not sure. Hopefully the earlier part. We are also partnering with the U.S. Tennis Association. We've applied for some grants. And so if we are awarded those grants, we will use those funds to support with the resurfacing our tennis courts as well. And again, we have a tennis aficionado at DPR who will prioritize the courts that need the most work and usage. Tennis is very popular still.
So, okay, well, again, just putting a marker down that I hope they all should be done as soon as possible and before the more intense usage in the spring and summer. I mean, ideally, this is a thing that would be done in the fall, and if there's a way to get other money to do it, that's fabulous, but I hope we can make getting those all done a priority. Ms. Chewa, I really appreciated your explanation of what's happened in these budgets, because I've asked a bunch of different people about this, and it sounded like a typo, but it's actually a way in which the accounting system is working.
Correct.
Doubling it. And so in the middle of the night when the budgets first came out, I thought, far out. Double the budget for the Chevy Chase Rec Center and for the Chevy Chase Library, and that was not the case.
Correct.
I do think that for the Chevy Chase Rec Center, there's in the executive summary, there's an indication of a $6 million increase, but it's not, I don't see that money anywhere. Has there been any money added for the Chevy Chase Rec Center? Is that an error in the executive summary? What's happening there?
I'm looking at that right now.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up just a little.
I'm not aware of any additional funding for the Chevy Chase Rec Center. I know there's an EA project ongoing there, but anything else.
I still couldn't understand. Maybe. Yeah, will you explain it? Your connection's better, Ms. Chewa.
Sure. I think, can you hear me okay, Councilman?
Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had double unmutes going on, but no, I think that was, there is no additional funding for Chevy Chase Recreation Center. So evidently if that was stated, I think that's a mistake. I will say we do have funding for an ADA upgrades project to that facility, but it's certainly it's not $6 million.
And what about the community center? No additional dollars for the community center that's going to be a part of the upcoming the mixed use project with housing and with the library. Has there been any money added there?
I will say DPR did not request any additional funding. I can't speak on behalf of DCPL or DMPET. One of those two other agencies may have, but we did not include a funding request this fiscal year.
Yeah, I hope that there's enough money in the budget for the library and the rec centers so that the affordable housing project doesn't have to subsidize the government buildings. That would be a shame because it would make it more challenging to provide higher levels of affordable housing. But if you all think that the money that's in the budget is adequate to do what you need to do, I hope you're right. The cost of everything is going up, and we really want that project to be a showcase. And maybe this has been asked about already, but money seems to have moved around. There's 15 million increase in recreation center operations to support operation and maintenance of 70 active facilities. And then DGS cut $1 million and 5.7 FTEs to parks and recreations facilities operations. Do we have more people doing maintenance and operations at our rec centers at the end of the day, or have we seen a cut in the number of FTEs devoted to rec center operations and maintenance?
Yeah, I think one of the other council members asked that question. So what it appears, we realigned our Schedule A, and so there were staff in one category that moved to rec center operations to support the expanded hours for our actual recreation centers.
Okay, and the maintenance issues. How do you deal with preventive maintenance? Do you have a budget, do you have a schedule? What kinds of things are you doing for preventive maintenance? Because we see that like the Wilson Aquatic Center, there should have been, and I know there were impediments to doing preventive maintenance at Wilson because of things that had been designed out at the beginning of the day. But what's the agency's approach to preventive maintenance?
So we work with DGS. DGS has a preventive, we initiated preventive maintenance schedule. For example, our pools, you'll often hear they go offline for about 2 weeks around February to April. And when we're going in and doing a blitz of those types of things, we plan and schedule with DGS. When they can have the techs come out, when the scope of work is done, when the contractors are onboarded for a lot of the HVAC or the bigger issues. So we do a partnership with DGS for that.
And do you have a kind of separate planning process? I mean, there's maintenance that's reactive and there's maintenance that's preventive, and really want
Absolutely.
to move to a heavy foot.
So the proactive. Correct. So that's what I was speaking of, the proactive, the winterization of our facilities, the summerization of our facilities, where we're switching from heat to cooling, and we're doing our HVAC, the preventive maintenance that we do where we bleed the lines on our spray parts. All of those things is part of our preventive maintenance that happens on a schedule. Then, sometimes things happen and there are major repairs, and then they take over, or the preventive maintenance doesn't help because the issue is so large, which you were alluding to with Wilson. But I will also say that the team did an excellent job on preventative maintenance at Wilson for it to last as long as it did, considering the challenges that we've learned about and just in the design.
Okay, so two last things, and one of them I think you may have covered in different ways, but on GLF, the last time we met in the oversight process, I think, and maybe it was Mr. Cisco who said, you heard about the issues raised by the folks in the Boys and Girls Club and some of the concerns that they had, and you felt that when you had your next community meeting and showed what you were doing and were able to explain it, that folks in the community would see that their issues had largely been addressed. And so I just wonder how that meeting happened and how did it go?
No, we haven't had, we've had a meeting. We have to have several other meetings with the Boys and Girls Club, and we do speak with them frequently, but we haven't had one regarding the next steps for the project.
So that question of once they see our next plan and it's more fully explained than what they've seen before, we don't know yet whether they will be satisfied with that. You expect it? Okay.
Absolutely. I expect them to be satisfied. Absolutely.
I'm sure you do.
We're trying to balance all stakeholder requests. We get them, they're competing priorities from all stakeholders, especially of a beloved community such as that. And so I do expect that they will be satisfied.
Okay, so time will tell on that. So the last thing, and I just was talking to Director Hunter about this, which is electricity at Fort Reno. And this is another one where there was a time where I think you guys believed it was in your bailiwick, and then I think you concluded it's more serious, it's in the DGS bailiwick, but it's going to get done quickly. Director Hunter said I think the implication was he was doing an evaluation of all similar requests across the city. And where does this stand from your perspective, and can you help us get this done? Because the big usage for that electricity is baseball, and baseball season has started, and it doesn't seem like a giant thing to fix it. So you hate to see it drag on too long. So where does that stand?
So we are working with DGS on that, lighting issues throughout the inventory. throughout our inventory to see what can be done. If it's electrical, well, I hear you say it seems pretty simple. Sometimes it's not very simple at all. If it, I'm confident that Director Hunter, if it is as simple, he's going to see it through and get it done. He knows how important it is to all of us. And so we're working through not just that location, but Oxen Run, Fort Greble, we've had calls to Pepco, we've escalated up for various lighting issues due to various reasons.
So, okay, so help me understand, because is the idea that the Jackson Reed baseball team taps into the electricity that is used for lighting at the park, and it's that whole system that's down? So you think of it as fix the electrical issues and deal with the lighting, but they might think about it as fix it so that they have access to it for whatever other things that they use the electricity for. Is that right?
Right. We're looking at it from a holistic approach. We want to make sure that it's not just because if it is just as simple as fixing the lights, they would have been, completed. So we believe that there's a bigger issue and we're working with DGS to resolve it.
Okay, well, that's going to be a tender one, actually, because that park was the site of Reno City, which was a mixed race community at the turn of the 20th century. Well, a lot of unfortunate history there, but the remains of Reno City are just below the surface. So if it requires a digging up, that gets to be a thing that's more complicated. Let's stay together on that. I guess on that I'm going to cheat in one last. When you talked about working with NPS around the Francis Field, can you describe what structure you have there? Because working with NPS around different of our parks is going to be a priority going forward. How are you doing it there, the Francis Field?
So Britt, you want to take this on?
Sure, Councilmember. So what we've done with NPS for Francisville, there's a couple of things. First was a transfer of jurisdiction, which completely transfers the property into DPR's inventory. The second thing that we've entered into with NPS is called a cooperative management agreement, or CMA. Which is basically an agreement or an MOA, for lack of a better word, between the two parties that say, DPR would like to do A, B, C, D, E on this property. NPS agrees. So it's basically an agreement that we come into, an MOA, for lack of a better word, that we agree on a project, and we're going to move forward with that understanding.
And I'm sorry, so do you do both of those, transfer of jurisdiction and an MOA on the same property?
We did. So we did for that particular site. There are a lot of different things happening because it's a very large stretch of land. So the field is the CMA. The other things on the property are a TOJ. Typically it's one or the other. So it's one of those two.
And how many others of those are you in the process of pursuing or negotiating around the city?
Well, we're looking at multiple, Kenilworth, of course, Fort Greble, Oxen Run. So the entire inventory, we're working with the Deputy Mayor's office. EOM is leading the transfers and we're working with them, but there are multiple properties, as you know, throughout the city. And we want to have an opportunity to use the amenities and to make sure that they're up to par for our residents. As it stands now, I can use Anacostia Park for an example. While the pool is ours, the swings right beside the pool and that playground is not. So when something is broken on that playground, we don't have the jurisdiction to fix it. And it's frustrating for our residents. And so it's things like that we're trying to work through, but they're a great partner. We appreciate NPS. We hosted Chuck Brown Day there last year, and the beautiful Ward 7, and we intend to keep this partnership great as can be.
And are you going to do Chuck Brown at Fort Dupont again this year?
we're going to do Chuck Brown Day is the 10th annual. We have not definitively named a location, but I know you will be there
Yeah,
on
I will be
stage
there.
dancing. I know.
I will be there. So, I mean, this thing of the work with the NPS is super important. You're certainly aware of the report by Rachel Clark at the Redstone Center, and I think NPS has gotten its back up a little about that report, but there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in that report where there are places where NPS already acknowledges it would make more sense for us to be managing. And I'm really glad to hear that you're pursuing that in different places. Fort Reno is one, and I'll be back to you. We have an agreement with them there, but I'll be back to you about Fort Reno. I went over, I kept you over, really grateful
You
for
did. You did. I missed the eclipse.
Oh, no. Did that happen in the last 8 minutes?
It absolutely did. I was trying to give you hints, but no,
Oh,
no.
you had to give me a hint. I would have let you walk away, that's for sure. Oh, I'm so sorry. All right. Well, if I was being dense, I apologize, but let me know. All right. Let's call it a day
You're
for
fine.
now. All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I just want to thank my team. Before you close us out, please, if I could just tell the people thank you for helping Hannah Baker, Danielle Evenew, Gina, Marcus, Ashley, James, the team who helped us get this together and provided you all the information, Brent and Rosemary, our AFO. We could not do this without them. And so while I may be the tabletop, they are the legs. And so thank you for obliging us and listening to our answers. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I apologize again. Talk to you later.